J. Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
I like to clap
This could, we're one diet from me away from being the skinniest panel in the history of this show. But unfortunately, that's a big diet that has to happen. Dustin, who was skinniest of his career and looked like he was 18 until about 5 years ago, he is here. Mike Lucas, who still looks like he's about 12, he is here too. He's obnoxiously thin, and that's it. You're obnoxiously thin.
What happened 5 years ago when I started looking older?
I randomly picked 5 years ago. But, you looked... Maybe it's the beard, because you got gray now.
Dude, I've had the beard since I've pretty much known you.
No, but you haven't had the gray for the whole time.
How long have you had the flow, though, Dustin? When did
flow
the
is
hair
good.
You have not.
mix?
When you look at those pictures that you and I took at the Brown Stadium, which was maybe a year or two into Bull and
Well,
Fox,
I didn't have a beard then.
You didn't have a beard, and you looked extremely young in those pictures.
I would look young if I cut off the beard now.
You think so?
The gray. It's the gray that pops and
Yeah.
And listen, it's not the football season, so the Just for Men, is not getting used as much.
Yeah.
But I'll tighten this up during the fall. You'll see.
I'm impressed that Mike can even grow a beard, unlike Ken Carmen, who we know can't grow a beard.
If I let it go, it grows out to a decent length.
Lima can't grow a beard.
Lima can't grow a beard, which is weird. He's Italian,
Italians are supposed to be
Italians
hairy.
are usually very hairy. Italians and Jews were known for and Persians known for being hairy people.
Yeah.
Lima did not get that Italian.
He can't grow a beard at all. That's
I
just
don't
not
think
in
so.
his-
I've never seen him have one.
I've never actually met Lima in person. We've gone back
We
and
were
forth
just
on
talking
Twitter.
about you. I was
a
with
couple
him
times.
Friday.
Well, he doesn't go to games anymore because
I know.
apparently his wife doesn't let
Well,
him out of the house.
I've been told by a couple mutual friends, acquaintances that Lima and I would get along great.
You guys would get along
and would
great.
love
I've
to meet
talked to him
Yeah.
about you too because he and I speak every so often.
I was like, dude, Mikey's awesome. He goes, I've heard nothing but great things.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
I've heard the same about Lima.
Well, every time
You gotta make
Lima
this
wants to
happen.
complain about the radio station, he calls me
Yeah.
and we talk for 20 minutes about how awful the no, he didn't. Well, yeah,
Yeah, it pretty much is accurate.
Yes.
You're not hiding anything, and everyone knows that.
We know he's been dissed for a decade now by not having his name on the show, and
Is it not
a whole new story.
It's not Ken and Lima?
It's the Ken Carmen show with Anthony Lima.
Big with.
It's been a slap in his face for the entire time.
Big with.
Very insulting. All right, Anthony and Steve on the other side of the glass. What's up, Anthony? What do you got?
What's up, guys? So I found a picture of Dustin without a beard. I actually didn't believe it was you for a second, Dustin, but according to Google Images, this is it.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the photo I was just talking about.
That's the one.
It's weird. It's kind of stretched out, but
Yeah, short.
this was Dustin and I went to Cleveland Brown Stadium, took a bunch of photos.
Promo
And
photos
that's
for the
the
show, I'm
picture.
assuming?
Yeah, I think we'd only been on the air maybe a year. I don't know. Maybe this was not before
year
the show
two,
started.
I think, year two.
Yeah, something like that. Very early us. So you were, what, 30?
I was, probably 2012-ish, right?
Yeah,
I was
right.
30.
Yeah.
Just turned 30, I believe.
So there you
roughly.
go.
Did you
Now-
stretch?
Yeah,
Now,
what's happening?
why are we all
with-
stretched
He
out?
stretched Dustin out. That's mean. You can bully. You can bully
that was
Tyvis.
Steve.
You can bully Tyvis. You can't bully
Yeah.
Dustin. Come on, Steve.
Steve, what have I done to you?
What
man?
happened? I don't think Steve can fix it yet.
According to Steve, he's trying to match the picture.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. But, there we go. I don't need to be stretched out. I'm already stretched out enough. Hello. All right,
Excuse me, everybody.
lot to get to on today's show. Obviously, we'll start with the Cavs in a minute who had another great win. But Andrew Berry also spoke yesterday. Amongst the things he talked about, Travis Hunter, Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, JOK. We'll hit on all of those things coming up in a little bit. First, we'll send it to Anthony for the first read of the day.
Yeah, guys, when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to bet on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking to get a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. And right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That's FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook betting partner of the NBA.
All right, speaking of the NBA, we begin there, guys. Dustin, you and I talked about it this morning a little bit, but it's time to expand even more. Another impressive win for the Cavaliers. No Darius Garland. Donovan Mitchell, basically a non-factor. I think he had 5 at halftime, 11 for the game. The Cavs win by 40 against a decent team that gave the Cavs a hard time in the playoffs last year. At their home court where they've been very good. I think they're 10 games over 500 at home. We know they're not a good offensive club, but they're a very good defensive club. And the Cavs just kicked their ass yesterday, Mike.
No, it was belt to ass, and there's no other way to explain it.
Excuse me.
Entering the game yesterday, Wendell Carter Jr., their center, said twice during shoot-around, this is a must-win game.
That's true. He did say that.
We have to beat the Cavaliers to prove we belong in the same class. We thought twice, not once, but he doubled down on it and said twice. The game was over 6 minutes in. By the end of the first quarter, the Cavs were up 18 points. Never turned back, even when Orlando went on what seemed like a 77-3 run in the second quarter.
They cut it down.
We got to halftime.
You get to 9 at one point.
Never got closer than 13.
11. Oh, no.
11 or 13.
I thought it was 11.
But never got into single digits.
Right.
It never actually became a game. They did it without Darius. As you mentioned, they did it without Donovan having a big game. Max Strus hit 5 threes in the game. The entire Orlando Magic team hit 5 threes in the game. Hunter had 4 threes off the bench. Jerome had 4 threes off the bench. And the big takeaway to me from this game was when the playoffs ended last season, it went 7 between the Cavs and the Magic. And in that game 7, Orlando was up double digits. Cleveland fought, clawed their way back, ended up winning the game. When that game ended, Orlando went back to the locker room saying, we lost the series, but we were on the exact same plane as this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Fast forward, and a relatively healthy Magic team played a relatively healthy Cavs team, Suggs out, Garland out, and it was not close in any capacity.
No.
They destroyed the number 2 defense in basketball. The Magic have the worst offense in basketball, and it was their lowest offensive output of the season. So not just bad offensive team. How about a bad offensive team having its worst offensive game of the season? And you saw all the parts of the Cavaliers roster chipping in different ways, which makes this a picture-perfect 40-point dub on national TV.
No, that was awesome. I think what you brought up was a really good point talking about last year, right? I mean, they lost 3 games in Orlando, right? And Orlando last year, I think they held the Cavs to like 24% shooting from 3. And also held them to like 8. The Cavs, by the way, were held to like 89 points against the Magic last year. So like it's a complete turnaround with all the same guys for the most part. And then no Garland last night. So it was just very fascinating to see how good.
Just on that, because I forgot to mention it. The last time they played in Orlando, Donovan scored 50.
That was a game Garland didn't play, right? Or am I wrong about
Allen
that?
didn't play. I don't remember Garland.
Allen didn't play. Sorry.
But Donovan scored 50. The rest of this team scored 39.
Right.
Last night they scored 122 points and Donovan had 11.
Just
think about the change in that by itself.
Yeah.
That was his stat line last night.
They got 111 points from guys not named Garland and Mitchell.
And the last time they played in that same arena, Donovan had 50. The rest of the team had 39, I believe.
And nobody had a monster game. Like
20 points was the high score for Ty Jerome.
Yeah, that was it. And did you want to finish a point, Dustin?
No, I mean, he even added to it. I mean, it just overall, the Cavs this year on the road have been so good, 21-6 on the road.
Yeah.
And now at 48-10, league best. Like they're just freaking awesome, man. They're so much fun to watch. Never think they're going to lose.
That's how it feels right now.
I'm trying not to take it for granted, though.
Could they go 22-2 and still win 70
sure they
games?
could.
That doesn't seem impossible. They probably won't. You'll probably fall short. They need to go, I believe, 19-5 to set the franchise record in wins. I think that's likely. I think there's a very good chance they'll do that. Which seems crazy, but but you look at the minutes way down. Everybody, outside of Ty Jerome is playing significant. Like Donovan Mitchell is playing 5-6 less minutes a game. Think about how that. Meanwhile, I looked at Boston. Their top 3 guys, Tatum, Brown, and White. I don't know what they played last year, but they're all playing like 34 to 37 minutes. It may not seem like a big deal. Well, one guy's playing 35, one guy's playing 30. I think it's a big deal. You add that up over 70 games, that's a way lot more time on the court. Plus, obviously, Boston played through the finals last year where the Cavs did not. So
and the Olympics where they had 3 guys on the Olympic team.
I got to think, again, it might not matter. The Celtics might still win that series. But I got to think that's, if any, it's certainly not a negative. It's definitely a positive for the Cavs. Plus, they're going to have a chance, you would think, to rest guys even more down the stretch because they're up 6 games on Boston with 24 to go. I mean, if they beat Boston on Friday, that's a big if because it's in Boston. But then you're up 7 with 23 to go. And by the way, I looked up this morning because I wasn't sure what the tiebreaker was if you've split your season series. And as long as you're not in the same division, and we never pay attention. I actually couldn't remember if the Cavs and Celtics were in the same division.
They are not.
I knew
They are not.
I thought they weren't, but we never pay attention to division that I wasn't 100% sure. So they're not. So the next tiebreaker is conference record, which the Cavs have a slight edge right now over Boston. By the way, for those who pay attention to even the bigger one, the Cavs have a big edge over Oklahoma City in terms of conference record. So if Oklahoma City and the Cavs have split their 2 games, if they end up tied at the end of the year, and Oklahoma City lost yesterday, so the Cavs right now are a game and a half up. But if they're tied at the end of the year, the Cavs will probably have the tiebreaker because I think they're 4 or 5 games up on Oklahoma City in terms of conference record. So in terms of getting that, I don't know how much they're going to play to have a better record than Oklahoma City at the end of the year, but certainly...
No, I think they will because that determines home court advantage in the finals.
Well, if they play Oklahoma City, right? We don't know.
But you'd rather have the upper hand than not. Yeah.
But the point is, they may have these things locked up even against Oklahoma City with a couple of games to go. Certainly the East, you would think, unless something goes terribly wrong, that the Cavs will have the East 1 seed locked up, maybe with 6-7 games to go.
And then
maybe more than that.
Then they could pick and choose, rest guys, make sure everyone's healthy.
You don't get rusty.
Right.
Yeah.
But, especially because after the season, there's still the play-in games, so you still have a week off there.
Got a little bit of time.
So you don't want to go too crazy. But you could be really smart with the minutes down the stretch.
Speaking of the minutes, I texted you during the game last night.
Right, yes.
And it never ended up coming to fruition because the game
didn't matter.
Was never close.
Right.
We had the topic yesterday. Will this be the game that Kenny Atkinson proverbially unleashes DeAndre Hunter?
Right.
And last night, Kenny did tweak his substitution patterns a little bit. He brought DeAndre in. Now, with Garland out, I'm not reading anything too far into this because Okoro's starting and whatnot, but he brought DeAndre Hunter in by himself as the first substitution off the bench, took Allen out, and they went with Hunter and Mobley in the front court, which, because of his length and wingspan, they're not sacrificing size. And Orlando's bigs are big, but they're not really post-up threats. Like, Banchero will post you up, but he's not a 275-pound center, even though he is a giant dude. But that's not necessarily how he plays. He wants to start from the high post. He had 4 threes in last night's game. We're going to show you one of those in a little bit because some of the self-creation that he's brought to the Cleveland offense has been simply incredible. And frankly, I was unaware that he had that level of creative offensive ability within him. But to see Kenny bring him off the bench 4 minutes into the game yesterday, Bull, I know it didn't matter because the game got out of hand so quickly.
Right.
I do think it gives us a little insight into how he may want to use some of his substitution patterns against a game like Boston. And last night he was asked, how are you going to handle this game against Boston? And he said, we're treating it like a Game 7. Like, we're going to try to win this game. We're going to throw everything we can at Boston to get as many data points as we can in case we have to see him in a playoff series again. What worked, what didn't, which lineups worked against their combinations, which ones didn't. And we need to prove we can beat this team in Boston.
Yeah. And
which I love to hear, by the way.
Again, going back to the 1 seed again, it's almost like a 4-game swing. Because, well, let me see if I'm getting that math right, Sam. Yes, or 3 games. If you lose to Boston, the lead for the 1 seed is 5, and Boston's got the tiebreaker. If you win, it's 7, and you've got the tiebreaker.
ESPN Analytics had the Cavs, as of this morning, at a 97% chance for the 1 seed.
Right.
If they win,
it's like 99.
I think 99.7, yeah.
If they lose, it's probably 90.
90.
Whatever. I know they're still going to get it, but it's a fair. It's as big a game as you're going to get in the regular season.
Is this game on ESPN Friday?
It is.
I think so.
It's their 5th consecutive.
Because now I'm going to be in this cruise for the next week.
Oh, yeah.
Which means, we only get like two sports channels. And
it's ESPN.
ESPN, yeah.
Then you get it.
That is big.
Sweet.
I would think on the Buckeye cruise, knowing there's probably a lot of Cleveland fans there'd probably be a lot of people wanting to watch that game.
Oh, yeah, they'll have it on. But what sucks is, like, I was just in the Bahamas back in January, and YouTube TV doesn't work down there, man.
Doesn't?
No, they block it. There's geofencing, dude. So they know you're out of the country, and YouTube doesn't have any rights down there.
What about Fubo?
They don't have rights there either. There's a couple other ones that were like never heard of before that worked.
Okay, they have their own.
Yeah, it's weird.
But Dustin, biggest
Yes.
is this as big a regular season game as you can get?
I would say yes because of the players we have now and needing to see Hunter and Strus and like figuring out like who are we going to match up with the Boston Celtics? Who's going to be in the starting lineup in the playoffs and when it comes to really most likely the Eastern Conference Finals. So this is going to be a nice test for the Cavaliers. Again, it's just one game. I mean, if they lose the game, I'm okay with that. I hope that Coach goes into this game and can learn some things and get some intel, gather that intel, and go back to the drawing board and prepare for the postseason with a little bit of information. And, the other thing, too, is you don't want to, I guess, show too much either to Boston, but you do want to play with some things and try to figure out who matches up well against that Boston death lineup.
I also think a big thing looking at the Boston a little, I know you guys will spend more time on it the next 2 days, but it's to me, again, I mentioned Giannis yesterday, but really Evan Mobley has struggled against Porzingis, and he played his worst game of the year by far. The Cavs have won 8 in a row and 12 of 13. And he played, the only loss in his last 13 was to Boston.
He was coming off his calf injury.
All right, but still, he was awful in that game.
Very bad, yeah.
And it was the only time really all year we saw him look a little intimidating. I don't know that he was. Maybe it just came off that way because he was playing poorly. He got a shot blocked early, and he seemed hesitant after that. And that's something like, if Mobley plays well in this game, that's like feels like the final hurdle for him. We've said often this year that the Cavs have brought back the same team as last year. That is true, besides Hunter now. But it's not the exact same team because Evan Mobley is not the same player he was last year. Darius Garland is not the same player he was last year. And Ty Jerome, he was on the team, but he didn't play. He was hurt the whole season.
No.
Throw in the addition of Hunter, it may be, and Tyson, who's contributed. Even on the broadcast last night, I think it was Van Gundy who said, even when they bring in Craig Porter Jr., the guy can play when he comes out there. Yeah. I love Ian Eagle on basketball. He's sneaky underrated on basketball.
Sneaky underrated?
Yeah,
no, I don't think he's underrated.
Underrated at all.
I think people know how good he is.
I just feel like you don't think of him for basketball as much. But
you mentioned DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah.
He's now played 6 games with the Cavs.
Yeah.
And 6 games is not the biggest sample size. Granted, I understand it's a small sample size. But essentially, since they acquired DeAndre Hunter, the Cavs have been almost damn near perfect. They're 6-0. I made this graphic for you guys. They're 6-0 with DeAndre Hunter. They have a 127.5 offensive rating. Number 1 in the NBA. Their defensive rating, 104.1. Also, number 1 in the NBA. It's a number 1 net rating when you have the best offense, best defense. The net's obviously going to be number 1.
Yeah.
Rebounding was a potential weakness for the team. Since they acquired DeAndre Hunter, 50.8 rebounds per game. Wow. Guess where that ranks in the NBA? Number 1, and they're also averaging 48.2 bench points per game.
And he started one game, so his points didn't count
in that first game. Yep. But
and Darius hasn't played in 2 of these games, and yet,
they have been damn near perfect with DeAndre Hunter. The numbers are just part of the story. How they've been able to counter what other teams want to do against them is the other half of it that don't necessarily show up in individual statistics like that. But since acquiring DeAndre Hunter,
and the last 3 games, they played good teams: the Knicks, the Grizzlies, and
the Magic.
And I remember the 3 before that.
They played the Timberwolves.
Boston. Oh, Minnesota's a decent team.
And then in between was the Raptors and the Nets, who were
so 4 of the 6 games are playoff teams.
Yeah.
It's been extremely impressive what the Cavaliers have done so far. Anthony, look like you want to jump in for a sec.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Mike, whenever you're ready for your iPad stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Is it going to work? We're going to test out some new tech here. If this works, it's going to be really cool, and I hope.
You got a telly?
It's kind of a telly. Ant, let's box it. Let's see if this works.
I'm going to let Steve run this one.
All right, so I picked just 3 plays. There's no crazy breakdown here, but if this works, this will be really cool. It mirrors the iPad. So the Magic tried to go zone on a couple of possessions against Cleveland last night, and teams have tried to go zone on Cleveland a handful of times this year, but because of how well they've been shooting, it hasn't had a ton of success. Last night, though, this play in particular is one of those plays that Kenny Atkinson drew up, or whoever on his staff drew up, that is picture perfect, and I just don't remember seeing any of this kind of execution against certain defenses in previous years from the same Cavs iteration. So you got Hunter on the top here, and he's going to run a little dribble handoff with Donovan Mitchell. You see it's a 2-3 zone, and you can see Jared Allen coming up to set the screen here on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, which would open up the right side of the court for Donovan to attack. My head's covering Donovan. You know where Donovan is. But Isaac Okoro, you see him on the baseline right under the basket there? He's the guy you got to watch on this play because in most zone offenses, Okoro would cycle through, go to the corner, and Craig Porter Jr. would rotate up to the wing. But instead of going to the corner, he's going to come up and set a little back screen here on Wendell Carter Jr., who's the middle man in this 2-3 zone. So in a typical pick-and-roll coverage, Donovan's going to come off to the right, Allen's going to roll, and the big man is going to kind of show for a second, then get back to stop Allen. However, what he doesn't see is, boom, back screen into an easy alley-oop. Okoro, once again, in typical 2-3 zone.
Can you let that run?
Yep. As he comes across, there's Okoro, has no idea he's there. Franz Wagner can't get over to come help.
Second pick.
It's screening the screener, essentially.
Right.
I'll pause it one more time. As Donovan comes off this, he has an entire lane to go. You see Wendell Carter Jr. in the right position to be helping against the zone. But instead of going to the corner, Okoro comes up, back screens for Wendell Carter Jr. And at that point, Franz Wagner has no chance at this. Donovan knows what he's looking for.
Right.
As soon as he sees Wendell make contact with Isaac, that's an easy oop.
And
2 points for the
one of
Cavs.
the keys in that is that the Cavs essentially are saying, going into that play, that Wendell Carter Jr. is going to at least be concerned enough about Donovan Mitchell that he's going to go past where Okoro is. This way, Okoro can step in and get that screen.
Yeah.
Because if Wendell Carter Jr. doesn't react to Donovan going to the right, then he can't really set that pick.
And if he doesn't react, Donovan steps into an open three. So he has to step
up. Right.
And when he steps
really
up, as
smart
he's
play,
recovering, that's a really nice play design there by the Cavs. All right, this second play is that's the second three of the game for Max Strus. And we've talked at length about why Max Strus should or shouldn't be the starting small forward when DeAndre Hunter's playing. Little nuances like this are why I think he fits well with the two bigs, even a little better than DeAndre Hunter to at least start the game. They're going to run some Iverson cut here, which is essentially you're cutting across the court to get the defender on your hip. So he's going to come over, catch it, and go into I lied. Hold on. I'm on the wrong play. That's why.
You're lying.
Oh, well, I was right about the action. I was wrong about which play this is. This is
Yeah.
DeAndre Hunter being a way better creator than anyone gave him credit for. So the Cavs are going to try and put DeAndre Hunter's defender, which is Paolo Banchero, in a pretzel here. How do you guard three actions at once? So Strus comes over on the Iverson cut, catches and goes right into a dribble handoff with DeAndre Hunter.
Okay.
In theory, you're trying to get that initial switch. Orlando does a pretty good job. They're not going to switch this, but watch Jared Allen trail the play and then go set a screen for DeAndre Hunter. So you're not going to switch the first action, but can you fight over two?
We're going to force
You're going to force the second one. Hunter gets the switch now, and he's on Wendell Carter Jr.
Right.
Wendell Carter Jr. is taller than DeAndre Hunter.
Right.
But he's also not nearly as quick as DeAndre Hunter. So he's, in a sense, I have to guard the closeout. I have to stay close enough that I can put my hand up, contest the shot, but I can't get too close because DeAndre will blow by me. DeAndre, as we mentioned before, leads the Cavs in free throw attempts per game. Yeah. He's as good as anyone on the team at getting to the rim, creating contact.
Let me ask you something about that, Mike. Is that a situation where Jared Allen is kind of reading the play, and he's got to know that if they didn't switch on the previous play, that he's got to set that pick to force the switch? Or was he just doing that?
I think he's running through because he's now going to go set a screen for Max Strus, which isn't where the play's going, but he's going to now set a screen for Max Strus. So you have another action coming. It's the continual action of this Cavs offense that keeps going. Wendell Carter Jr., too slow, hand down, man down. DeAndre Hunter makes him play. It's going to run through again. Watch if you're a defender here on Orlando, how do you get through all this action?
Right.
And also, by the way, if you slip up at any point, you have deadly three-point shooters surrounding you at all points. So Strus comes on the Iverson cut, dribble handoff to DeAndre Hunter. He works with the ball screen. Allen's now going to screen for Strus's man, which could set up another switch. But instead, Hunter likes this one-on-one matchup. Yeah. Look at where that releases.
Yeah.
We talk about the wingspan from DeAndre Hunter, 7'2", 7'3".
Yeah.
Wendell Carter Jr., 6'11". That's not a little guy trying to contest a shot, but because DeAndre Hunter is 6'8" with a 7'3" wingspan and he releases the ball above his head, it's an unblockable jump shot. Nothing but net. He hit 4 threes last night, and he can create shots like that as well as anyone on the Cavs.
And another thing about all the screens and having to work through all the screens is that adds up as the game goes along.
Yeah.
So it's not a surprise that the Cavs have been a dominant fourth quarter team because they're doing, in an era of basketball where there's so much dribble, one-on-one play with guys standing around, the Cavs ball movement forcing the defense to switch more, go through picks
tires
more.
guys out.
He's
and
going to
also,
tire guys out. It's a big
And
advantage.
physically, like their bodies are going through screens. These are big dudes.
You
like
get beat up.
It's not football, but I mean those guys are they're in there.
Right,
you know,
and you don't have to. You're not used to that because other teams aren't moving as much as the Cavs are.
And when you set good habits and set good screens, it leads to what we see on this last play. Steve, take it back for one more, because this was the Strus play I wanted to talk about here.
Yeah.
So on this play, it's going to be the first bucket of the game for the Cavs. It's a design play that they drew up specifically for Max Strus. They're going to come down, and Strus is going to come off this initial screen on the bottom half of your screen from Evan Mobley, and then try to work off a screen with Jared Allen on the other side. So the Cavs made it a priority. We want Max Strus getting the first shot here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is designed or read by Strus, but either way, his ability to navigate through screens, read the defense, and figure out how to create space for himself is what I think makes him a really complementary fit to the two big lineup, particularly when they start the game. So he's going to come off, give it to Mobley, give it to Mitchell, come back, and watch how he works this screen with Jared Allen. It looks like a flare screen, right? That is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
What does that mean, flare screen?
High screen, he's going to flare to the corner. So you're basically coming off and then shooting out the same way that he's going with the screen being set.
Okay.
Watch how this Magic, I'm going to rewind, but watch how the Magic defender chases Max Strus coming off this. So you get the little handoff, gives it right back to create more space. He tries to go over. Strus reads that perfectly.
Right. He's wide open.
Repositions himself, steps into the three, catch and shoot. And by the time Kentavious Caldwell-Pope tries to get over both of those actions, it's a wide open three. This is a design play from the Cavs. Very first play of the game.
Yeah.
If he goes under that screen, Strus continues to flare to the wing for potentially an open three because he tries
good read by Strus.
It's a brilliant read by Strus.
Well, and a great, a little part of that gets missed is that Donovan hit him perfectly in stride in the right spot.
Yep.
Because that was looked like a very continuous motion of him getting the pass, going up with it, and getting that shot in rhythm, Mike.
Yeah.
That's great. It is nice having that.
It's really cool. Can I show you one more thing on this?
Yeah.
We talk about the screens
Please.
and being physical, right? Look at how Jared Allen sets the screen. If this is not a really good screen,
he's great at setting
it does not create the space. Hits him once and then just stays in the way. You don't have to be a bone-crushing,
you don't have to knock him on his ass.
6'10", 300-pound monster to be effective in the screen.
Jarrett's very good at getting that leg out and then just holding firm.
Here he doesn't move, gets him on his ass, basically, and then it opens up the space here for Max Strus. So just a couple plays from last night. The telestrator worked really well.
It did.
We're going to start using this again.
Very nice.
Led to one of 5 threes from Max Strus in the game.
Right.
So shout out to the Cavs, some really high execution offensively. And once again, that's the number 2 defense in basketball in Orlando.
Yeah.
Without Darius Garland, they put up 122 points on the number 2 defense when their 2 best offensive players combined to score 11 points.
And we just said again yesterday that we're I know I said I'm totally all in on Ty Jerome. You said it this morning. Like, again, another game where they needed him to play more. Yeah. And the only time the Magic made a run right after that first clip, they made a little run there late in the second quarter, cut it down to, I think, 11. And then I believe Ty Jerome hit back-to-back threes right before the end of the half.
He has the weirdest, and weird because he's not the guy you'd expect, not weird in what he does. The weirdest sense for the game of, we desperately need a bucket. Get out of my way. I'm going to go do something. And he's not the guy you'd expect to have that killer instinct, but he is 100%
he wants the ball in his hands,
killer.
man.
Yeah.
Like
he does. He's confident.
Yeah, he really is.
He's playing with a lot. Everybody on this team is playing with confidence. And that's the thing we talked about yesterday. There's nobody on the Cavs. Everybody on the Cavs is playing as well, or in a lot of cases better, than you thought coming into the season. There's not a single player on the Cavs doing worse than you expected. Not one. Nobody.
No. The only individual part of it is Sam Merrill shooting 36% from 3. And if you had told me who would be the Cavs' 11th highest percentage three-point shooter this year, I'd say, no way, it's Sam Merrill.
But I feel like he's still been better.
He's been so much better defensively. He's a better playmaker. He hasn't played poorly. He just hasn't shot to the level.
That was a bad foul call on him, by the way.
It was a bad foul call.
Jeff Van Gundy said it was a foul?
No, it was a bad foul call. Yeah.
Although the offensive foul on Ty Jerome was a good call.
When he...
that was a good call. You can't do that. One last thing. Shaq, did you guys watch the halftime at all?
Did not.
I did not know.
By the way, Candace Parker is under the radar hot. Has she always been hot?
Yeah,
she's kind of under the radar hot.
Yeah.
No, I don't think she's under the radar.
I'm just throwing
I
a lot
also
under
think
the
she's
radar.
really good on TV.
She's
Very good on TV.
Yeah.
That's more important. I shouldn't have said the hot part.
No.
But,
Oh, she's
I mean,
good.
could be hot,
She's
but
easy on the eyes, but
she's
very,
excellent.
very talented.
She's actually better than Vince Carter, who's on there, but he's fine too. But anyway, Shaq at the halftime made the point. I think I remember the last time the Cavs played on TNT, he said something similar. He talked about, like, they were talking about, because whoever the sideline reporter, I can't remember who the sideline reporter from the game was last night. You guys remember who was the sideline reporter?
Guy or girl?
It was a girl, I think.
It wasn't Allie, was it? No.
No, and it's not Cassidy. Is it Cassidy Hubbard?
No, it wasn't Cassidy Hubbard. Whoever it was,
She's ESPN.
did this little story about, I think it was her. Maybe it was Candace Parker at halftime. Now I can't remember. But anyway, somebody said something about how Donovan Mitchell made the point after talking with Kenny Atkinson in the beginning of the season.
It was Candace Parker who made the point at halftime.
Okay, it was her.
Yeah.
So she talked about taking a step back so others could take a step forward. We've talked about him being a leader, how important. A lot of superstars would not have done that at all. And that's key. And Shaq brought up the point is that you look at the Cavs ball movement, and part of the reason they're always moving so much, that's what they're trying to do. But guys are all bought in because they know every player on that team who goes on the floor. Craig Porter Jr., Tyson, it doesn't matter. If you get on the court, you know that you're going to get your chances. Everybody gets involved. The Cavs are balanced quite often. Yeah, there are some games where Donovan will take over, but those are few and far between. Everybody gets a chance. And nobody's ignored out on the court. And that's why the Cavs have such great chemistry, have a real legitimate chance to win. And the guys fight for each other. They do. The role players are going to play harder when they know that the All-Stars respect their game, believe in them, and get them the ball. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
Shaq put it, if you let everybody eat, then guys are going to work harder. And he's 100% right. And this team could definitely win. It's very exciting. Very exciting time.
They're fun to watch.
Can't wait for the playoffs. But we get, 7 weeks till the playoffs, I think?
Roughly.
Something like that.
The last game's April 11th.
Okay.
Or
So
13th? 11th,
yeah,
13th?
so about 7 weeks. So, anyway.
All
All right, Mike, let's switch gears here. Anthony,
It's
sorry.
the same thing. Mike, you ready to switch gears here? It's the comedy show coming up, guys. It is March 28th, Friday night at 9:30 at Pickwick and Frolic. It's a good charity event. We're doing it for the boys.
I didn't even
and girls
realize
club
that was
here.
Mike in the middle there for a second.
That is my contact picture for Mike since we started the show. So if you want to come out and have some laughs, a lot of us are going to go up there. I don't know what the full lineup is yet, and Mike Polk is hosting, so appreciate it.
Yeah.
Make sure to put the ticket link in the chat as well.
Already
pinned
done.
up there.
Already
Nailed
done,
it.
Mike.
He's great at what he does.
Yeah, all right. Let's talk some Browns. So Andrew Berry spoke to the media yesterday. Kevin Stefanski's talking today. I think 1 o'clock maybe.
1:15.
So we won't be able to respond to that, but obviously tomorrow's show you'll have that. Andrew Berry had some interesting comments. We talked a little bit about Travis Hunter yesterday, right? Did we talk about it?
We did for overtime.
Was it in overtime?
But I know Ant wanted to start with the Harold Landry and how that affects what Andrew Berry said.
Oh,
in terms
okay.
of
I'm not, unlike Mike, I'm not looking at my phone during the show.
I sent it in the rundown
I
last night.
have an iPad. I don't
the
even
order
need a
there.
phone today.
Mike's like Jason on his phone. Ugh. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't see that text. I haven't been looking at my phone. Go ahead.
No, you're totally fine. So we're going to start here
Yeah.
where Andrew Berry said that they were very open to trading and like a lot of activity and movement on draft day. Mike sent me this tweet later. I'll take this full here. Mike, you want to explain how you think this could affect the Browns on draft day?
Well, yeah.
I saw this. The Titans have agreed that they would let Harold Landry look for a trade.
And I saw some people start to connect the dots, meaning, well, why would they potentially let one of their better, he's 28 years old, let him seek a trade? And one of the thought processes could be, well, we're going to draft Abdul Carter number 1, and if we're going to draft Abdul Carter number 1, he has a $24 million cap hit each of the next 2 seasons as he turns 29 and 30. Do we want to be paying someone that much money when we have his replacement in-house? So, Bull, is there a chance that if they trade Harold Landry, that signifies the Titans would take Abdul Carter number 1, leaving both quarterbacks on the board for the Browns at number 2?
I mean, it could be, but I don't think that means anything. He's an older player. He's a good player. They suck. And the Titans are saying, like we've maybe suggested the Browns should, although they don't seem to be looking at it that way. They're saying, yeah, we got this good player. I mean, he's not Myles Garrett, obviously, but he's a good player. But why are we going to pay him a ton of money at 29 years old when we stink right now? So that's why and they could get something in return for a contending team. Like, again, not getting the package that you get for Myles Garrett.
It's a solid player.
They could get something of legitimate value for Landry. And so I don't think there's anything to do necessarily with them drafting Carter first overall. I just think this is about where they are in development and what because they want more draft picks. They're in the same boat as the Browns, except they're not stuck with a Deshaun Watson contract, but they're lacking talent. They have no quarterback. And so, I don't think that. Do you read this as to have any, as a thought that they're going to draft Carter because of this?
You and I lately have been on the same page with everything, which is a little alarming, to be honest with you. But no, I'm with you. They're a bad team.
Yeah.
He's an awesome player.
Yeah.
Who's going to make a ton of money?
Right.
You don't need him right now.
Yeah. Why am I paying this guy all that money?
I mean, obviously you need good players, but I mean, they're not. He's not going to help them win right now. We had the Defensive Player of the Year last year and won 3 games.
That's
right. They're probably like, hey, look what Cleveland did last year. We're going to be worse than them this year.
Right.
We don't need Landry. I think it's just a money situation. Carter could end up there for sure too.
Yeah, I mean he might, but I don't think this.
It doesn't definitely signify that, and they still need a quarterback, dude. So I don't know. It's a money thing to me.
They saved $17 million as a post June 1st cut, or if he gets traded.
Okay.
So
right,
that's a big chunk of change.
Unlike Myles Garrett, where it actually hurts the cap.
No, it helps the Tennessee.
It hurts the cap.
It helps Tennessee. Yeah.
Browns cap wise. Yeah. This would help Tennessee.
Yes. So I'm with you guys. I don't think it necessarily means anything.
Yeah.
Because of this, they are definitely going to draft Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
But I want to get optimistic about something because there's not a lot to be hopeful about for the Browns at the moment.
Yeah.
This would be an incredible feat if this did lead to both Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders being available at number 2, which mock drafts mean nothing. I'm not saying I'm putting any too much stock into anyone, but all the mocks in the last couple of days do have Abdul Carter going 1, and then Cam Ward has now become the prohibitive favorite. Yeah. So I'm trying to manifest it into reality here.
I certainly could be wrong, but I don't buy in any way that it's not going to be a quarterback going 1. Even if the Titans are convinced that, let's say the Titans think both these quarterbacks stink and they don't want to draft a quarterback.
They'll trade back and someone
There's
will.
There's going to be a team that's going to want to trade up. And maybe I'm crazy. Maybe none of these teams think these guys are any good. But in the top 9 picks, I believe, there's 6 teams. Do we have 6 through 10 in the draft, Anthony, up here?
No, but I can tell you who they are.
So you got Tennessee needs a quarterback, the Browns need a quarterback, the Giants need a quarterback. You got the Jets, you got the Saints,
and
you got the Raiders. All picking in the top 9, I believe.
Yep.
So 6 of the top 9 teams need a quarterback. Are you telling me there's not at least 2 of those 6 that don't think these guys are potential franchise quarterbacks? I think that's highly unlikely. So I think Tennessee's either going to take one of the quarterbacks or trade down for a team that's going to take one of the quarterbacks. So if the Browns only like one, let's say they only like Cam Ward and they're lukewarm on Shedeur, I don't think they can just sit at 2 and get the guy they want for sure. Because I think a quarterback's going to go 1. And by the way, all this stuff about Abdul Carter being a sure thing, everybody likes to say sure thing about non-quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And the only reason people say that is because when defensive linemen and offensive linemen bust, it doesn't become a big story unless it's our team. If the Titans draft a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman with the first overall pick in the draft, maybe first overall pick, but with a high first pick, 5 years from now, the guy's a bust. We're not talking about it here. Who cares about the Titans? If it's a quarterback with the Titans, we would know it because we pay attention to the quarterbacks. But that's why people think it's safer. But let me just say this about Abdul Carter, and I don't know enough about him. Maybe he's going to be the next great player. He's only done it 1 year in college.
At that position, he was a good linebacker before he went to an edge.
He wasn't being talked about as the first overall pick in the draft.
He played a totally different position, though.
I understand.
You're
he's
right,
played at this level for 1 year.
That's fair.
Don't tell me he's a sure thing.
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, the sure thing's, it's silly.
It's
say
completely ridiculous.
Yeah, the safe pick.
Yeah, the safe pick.
I remember Solomon Thomas.
Yeah.
that year that was supposed to be the safe
That's
pick.
right. That's
and
right.
Jonathan Cooper, the guard out of UNC that Arizona took 7th or 8th, and was like, yeah, he's a really good player as a guard.
Yeah.
This guy's going to step in tomorrow and be a Pro Bowl guard for the next 20. And he was gone in 3 years. Like, you feel better about certain positions than others, but safe pick does not exist. That is a complete myth that any position is safe compared to others.
I could understand before there was like this, whatever they call it, I can't remember. Like, there's essentially a salary cap on the draft picks, right? You know they're slotted in. Pre those days, right? The last big paid quarterback, I believe, was Sam Bradford.
Yep.
When he was first overall, got a ton of money.
2009.
In those days, okay, you had to pay more for the quarterbacks. So if the quarterback busted, you weren't really going to draft a quarterback. You were going to be more patient. You couldn't draft another quarterback right away and pay another quarterback.
Yeah.
But now, when it's irrelevant if it's a quarterback or a defensive lineman, within a small amount of money, it doesn't matter. They're all worth the same. It's based on the draft slot, basically. That's why we don't have holdouts anymore. There's no higher risk. I don't buy it. That there's more risk. You're if you trust the guys making the decision, when you draft a player, it's an educated guess. That's what it is. There's no guarantee on any player. It's an educated guess. And the better your coaching staff, scouting staff, front office is, the better the educated guess.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has much to do with position.
I agree.
So, all right, now we'll transition to some of the stuff that Andrew Berry said. Let's stick with the draft for a minute and the Travis Hunter. We talked about it in overtime. I know Dustin likes the idea of him playing corner with playing some on offense. Tyvis
limited snaps on offense, but not just like 5 snaps. Sometimes like 20
right, but
snaps.
His starting position essentially being corner. Tyvis, I know, agrees with that. Andrew Berry said, now, we don't know that the Browns are going to draft him, and I don't think the fact that he talked about it means the Browns are going to draft him. If anything, it more likely means the opposite, because he's trying to make people think they're not interested in the quarterback or whatever. But he said that he thinks he's going to be a primary offensive
receiver,
player.
yeah.
So, I don't know.
I
get what he's saying in terms of you want him to have the ball in his hands. Did Andrew Berry actually use the word unicorn?
Yes.
He did.
He did. And he said his superpower is his playmaking, and he'd rather have him get the ball 100 times as a receiver than
right.
And he used this number 30 times at a good point as a defensive back and return specialist. But I got to defer to Tyvis and Dustin on this one. You guys said it's way easier because the technique as a defensive back is so tough. It is way easier to hammer that and fine-tune that and then just go be a playmaker on offense as opposed to fine-tuning your receiving skills and then just go run out as a defensive back here or there and be able to keep up with all the concepts in the defensive room and the coverages and all that. And I'm going to defer to you guys. You played at a much higher level than me.
I just think playing corner is one of the easier positions to play when it comes from a mental standpoint. You don't have to necessarily think as much as you are just reacting to the obviously the player that you're defending, whether it's man coverage, zone coverage, things like that. But you don't have to know all the schemes of the offense.
So it wouldn't be as hard.
I personally, I saw it firsthand when we put Chris Gamble in on defense, and we just said, basically gave him 2 hand signals,
right,
and he was good, and he was a receiver, the whole time. Put him on defense, didn't really teach him squat other than dude, can you just go cover that guy?
Right, and he was just a great enough athlete.
Piece of cake,
And Travis Hunter's a great athlete.
Yeah, I think the offense requires a little bit more to learn. Now, if we were talking about him playing a safety or a linebacker or a position that was more cerebral, different story. You're going to have to put more time into it. I don't think so at corner.
So then maybe it does make sense for him to play wide receiver primarily and then play some at corner. Maybe you put him out there on third downs. Big spots in the game, whatever it may be.
Listen, they can decide. A team can decide whatever they want to do with where they want to primarily put him.
Yeah.
It could be offense, it could be defense. But the number one thing you're not going to do is play the guy basically completely the same amount of time on both sides of the football.
No,
you just can't. He did it in college, 120, 130 snaps in some games.
Right.
You can't do that in the league.
Not in the NFL. Plus, you want to use him on special teams a little too. So
the player will die on the field.
Yeah.
From a physical standpoint, Dustin, over the course of a 17-game season, which position do you think takes a bigger toll from a physical standpoint, being a receiver or being a cornerback?
Boy, it's hard to say. Both positions sort of are like hit or miss in terms of how active you are going to be. You know, if you're playing corner, okay, are you playing to the boundary side, playing to the field side? It's not as big a deal in pros as in college, but like, are you going to be involved in a lot more tackles as a corner?
Right, yeah.
Okay, or are you going to be involved in a game plan where they're going to attack you? So you got to make some plays, and they're running go balls on you, so you're sprinting your butt off. Or same thing goes for offense. How many times are you getting targeted? Are they putting you out there just to throw you the ball, or do you have to go out there and block a little bit too? Which I think you probably have to do a little bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an elite corner, I feel like there was a time, Dion and Darryl Green maybe, where you might avoid throwing at a guy like that, but like if Travis Hunter, let's say he's an elite corner, but if you're playing Justin Jefferson, if you're playing Jamar Chase, you're playing A.J. Brown, those type, like they're not going to just not throw to you. You feed those guys the ball. So, Travis Hunter, if he's an elite corner, well, he's guarding all those guys.
Which means
he's going to have to make a lot of plays.
Yeah, and he also may be a little bit tired to go on offense, right? I mean, if he's out there and you're saying, "Hey, whole game, you got JJ the entire game,"
right?
Man, I think that'd take a lot out of you.
You need he's got to be with the right coach because this is a delicate balance that they got to find for how they use him. What do you guys think he's going to run? What's the all-time record now? Did he get broken again last year?
4.2 flat, man.
Xavier Worthy ran a 4.24 or 4.23 last year to set the record.
Can he break it, do we think, or no? He's not quite that fast.
Dude, I don't know.
I don't think
that speed is just absolutely insane. At some point, that's it. Like, how much faster can you get?
It's still 40 yards, no matter where you start. It's 40 yards.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's
what does
basically 10 yards per second.
I can't think of the name of that great
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt.
What does he run?
Well,
they don't run a 40-yard dash.
No, he runs the 100-meter dash, and
what do you think he would run in a 40?
They've done some things. It was in the 4.1s, I think.
Yeah, and
It was a 4.22.
4.22.
Xavier Worthy.
Worthy?
No,
or
that was
Bolt?
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt.
Oh.
But Bolt was never the fastest starter, though.
Yeah,
he had the long
built
strides.
Up. The 100 meters actually helped him, and he was really good at 200 as well.
He was even better at the 200, wasn't he? Yeah. So I don't know.
If he trained specifically for a 40-yard dash, he'd probably get better. I mean, probably go under a 4.2 eventually, maybe.
Probably just because he's the fastest human ever, but like he didn't have a great start.
He had the long strides, which has ended up He probably to be like
but
the
it's not something
40.
he's ever needed to work on because he's not running a 40-yard dash.
No.
You wonder if he had to work. But it doesn't matter. You had a question for Dustin? Go ahead.
Yeah, Dustin, if Travis Hunter plays primarily wide receiver, Tyvis brought up the problem of getting in rhythm as a cornerback. Like, what does that kind of play into? I want your opinion on getting into that rhythm.
Rhythm is very, very important as a player. And, obviously I played the position. I would not have felt comfortable going out there, for spot duty. I mean, that's one of the toughest things. And I had to do that a little bit as a freshman at Ohio State where I was forced into action and like, come on the field, go out, That was tough. I think as a player, you want to get out there and just get your feet wet and feel comfortable. Because you're not, I'm like, you may go out there for a series and it might be all man coverage. Well, the next series might be all zone coverage. Like you need to get a feel for the flow of the game. Like, how is this offense attacking our defense? Are they taking shots down the field? Like, what sort of offense are they? You have to be in the game to understand what that offense is trying to do. And I just think it'd be really difficult to get into that, like you said, rhythm when you're not out there every snap.
And like when the defense is on the sideline and they're looking at the pictures or looking at video.
Yeah, there's not a lot of downtime for a guy who's playing both ways.
Right.
So there's not time to to really do that self-scout evaluation on the sidelines, taking a look at things, because he may get off the field on defense and they're just calling his name to go in on, maybe it's a punt return, maybe it's an offensive series. Who knows?
I bring this up just because of Travis Hunter, because I know nobody really cares, but I have the first overall pick in 2 rookie drafts.
Shut up. No one cares. No one cares.
This is why I'm saying. You shut up.
Nobody cares about your fantasy football team.
I am not even considering taking him because I just don't think he's going to play enough on offense. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not taking him as the first overall pick, even though he's going to be the first skill position player drafted.
I'd take Ashton Genty.
Well, depending on what team he ends up on, probably, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, I just think in the end,
I would take.
He's not going to play all the time.
Yeah, I'd be getting a guy who's going to play all the time.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
At least you knew he's going to play all the time.
Anyway, all right, we got other Andrew Berry subjects. I think we'll have to save some of them for after we talk to Jason at 12.
We still got 10 minutes till Jason's.
No, I know that, but there's 3 other subjects we got to hit on.
JOK.
We may have to say, let's talk about JOK.
That sucks,
I do have the quote here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead and take tag board full here. I wish I had a specific update on Jeremiah. I would say that he's slowly making progress. He's going through all the required medical, and I don't have anything else. It's not a great sign for the rest of his career, I think, right now, not hearing any more updates, right?
No, this is
it sucks.
It's terrible.
This sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it
sounds like at this point it'd be a surprise if he does play again.
Right.
If you get anything from JOK moving forward, it has to be an extra to what you had expected. Because I don't think it's fair to expect anything from JOK in the immediate future or, frankly, for the rest of his career. Yeah. Anything you get would be incredible, and I hope he makes a speedy recovery and finds his way back because we talked about it at length, Dustin, before you joined the show in the 2023 season.
Yeah.
I mean, he was all-pro level linebacker, looked like the flourishing next big star at the position, and one hit.
Well, even at the start of last year before he got hurt,
he was playing really well too. Yeah, and then one hit can change everything. But
think about
I just don't know how you can expect and count on him when you're building out this roster for 2025.
For all these people that think the Browns should try to win like Philadelphia, which is silly because, first of all, Jalen Hurts is a damn good quarterback, but like Philadelphia does almost everything right, and the Browns do almost everything wrong. So the idea that they're going to build it like Philly is silly. But your best defensive player in the last 2 years is Myles Garrett. He wants to be traded. Now, this is part of the same conversation because Andrew Berry again doubled down on saying, hey, we're not trading him. We're not listening to offers. We're not interested. We'll see. But he wants to be traded. Your second best defensive player, Denzel Ward, got yet another concussion last year and has missed games every season. And your third best player is JOK, who it seems like there's a chance he never plays again. So this idea of winning through defense, well, the rest of your defense is a bunch of guys. Or the people that have made this argument, well, I know the Browns had a bad year last year, but their defense was great 2 years ago. That was an anomaly. A lot of schedule things, and it came together for 1 year. The Browns' defense is never going to be that good. And it wasn't great. It was very good, but they fell apart late in the season. They were mediocre last year. And at this point, there's no way the Browns are going to play that high a level defense with what they've got on that side of the ball. I just don't see that being possible.
It's going to be tough. The talent, we thought the talent was there.
Yeah.
And then, most likely going to lose Myles Garrett. That's going to be a huge loss to this defense. Who's going to be your leaders?
No idea. If JOK and Myles Garrett are not on the team next year, who's your best player right now in the front seven?
Diabate?
An undrafted linebacker that nobody heard of a year ago?
He's undrafted doesn't mean anything.
That's fair. That's true.
I thought he played pretty decent.
He's a nice player, but he's just a guy.
I would not say he's my best player. If we are,
Dalvin Tomlinson?
A little concerning.
I'm just as concerned if he's your best player in the front seven.
There's nobody. The rest of their front seven is just guys.
Mike Hall, but he's hurt.
But he's barely played.
And he's hurt. I'm just naming guys now.
Our linebackers are so nondescript.
Yeah. It's a bunch of guys. A bunch of Jags. That's what they have.
It'll probably end up being someone who you draft this year.
Denzel, if you don't have Myles and JOK, your best player on defense is Denzel Ward. Who's your second best overall? Grant Delpit?
Delpit's the second, yeah. And then Newsome and Emerson in some order for 3-4.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good defense to me.
Yeah, tough outlook.
So, anyway, so that's and now, as I mentioned, Andrew Berry did double down on the Myles Garrett thing. The more he doubles down, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Are you buying it now?
I think he's saying the right things. I don't think he's going to come out here and just tell the world, yeah, we are definitely trading Myles Garrett. It just hurts the Browns in the long run. It loses their leverage. It loses their negotiation power.
Yeah.
I think in a perfect world, they do not trade Myles Garrett, I think at the end of the day, he's being sincere when he says we don't want to trade Myles Garrett. Now, if a team comes through,
of course they don't want to.
So I don't think he's lying. I think he's being honest in the sense that we have no intention of trading Myles Garrett until we get to a point where we physically have to.
It's
trade
going to be a
Myles
bad look for the Browns if this gets ugly, because the fans are going to have Myles' side, which is unfortunate. Well, not unfortunate, but it's weird because the player wants out.
Right.
But the team stinks, and the fan side with the player.
Yeah, although
in this case,
I think he lost some people when he did that media tour.
Definitely did.
A lot of fans didn't like that. But, and ultimately, obviously it feels like the Browns have leverage unless he decides to hold out.
Well, that's
that's
the concern.
Yes.
I mean, I think that could be a disaster that not just hurts the team's favor with the fans,
right?
But like holdouts of best players hurt the locker room.
That's right.
And like if you think the team's going to be anything next year, and you think these coaches are going to continue to, have this footing where they're going to be back, dude, that could make everything go downhill. That could get coaches fired.
Yeah.
Plus, if you let's say he holds out and then you feel like you're forced to trade him, well, now you missed out on an opportunity to get draft picks this year.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, well, the 26th draft is better anyway, but you don't know that.
You don't know.
You don't know where those picks are going to be.
Everybody says that every year. You probably said that last year. Oh, the 25 draft is going to be really good.
You want players now. You want young players now, not next year. You'd rather have them now. So,
and if you're Brady, there's no guarantee you're here next year anyway.
Right.
You want those picks to be able to cash them in because you'll be making those picks for sure.
Yeah.
In 26, there's no guarantee that Andrew Berry's the one handing in the card for the Browns.
I don't care what Andrew Berry says, and again, I could be wrong. You never know. They may stand tough. Andrew Berry tried to make it seem like it's a commonplace that players ask for trades. Maybe so. Maybe it happens more often than we think. Not players of his magnitude.
No.
Because that story would get out.
Not top 5 players in the NFL. Tyreek Hill is the last guy I can remember.
That demanded a trade?
At that level.
Yeah. Myles Garrett, they should trade him before this draft. I mean, it's that simple. You want to get picks now and for next year, but you want to get picks now. And I heard our guy Nick Wilson say the Browns got to get a Herschel Walker type trade. I mean, let's not get carried away. You're not getting any Herschel Walker type trade. But, 2 first-round picks and a little on top of that, a little gravy on top of that, sure. There's going to be a team willing to do that. You're not getting 3 first-round picks. No. Not for a defensive end. But you'll get 2 probably and a little change on that. And the Browns got to do it.
Yeah.
They got to do it. They stink. They stink. And I know it seems counterintuitive to say, you're saying they stink, but you want them to trade their best player? Yes, because their best player's pissed. They're probably, not a sure thing, probably not going to be good for a few years. And by the time they get good, Myles Garrett's going to be past his prime.
What'd you take of Andrew Berry's comments on Nick Chubb, saying he's going to test the market and
most likely I think that whole thing is wild to me because the Browns have been so steadfast on how much they love him. And, Nick Chubb's was the Players Tribune thing he did last year, talking about the Browns and how, he was worried about, coming back and all these. I don't know, man. I always thought the Browns were going to just give him a sweetheart deal no matter what because they love him. And he's, means a lot to the organization, to the fans, to the locker room. But when I heard him say he's entering free agency, or did he say test free agency maybe?
He's going to reach free agency.
He's going to reach free agency. That was very, very interesting, the wording of that. Because it wasn't like, well, we're working on it. He didn't say that. He didn't say like we're confident we're going to get something done, or like teams say that all the time. They didn't say it in this case. And look, I get it. Like he didn't do much last year that warrants him coming back on a new deal that's lucrative, So going to be interesting, man. The fans are going to be really rowdy, I think, come fall if Nick Chubb's not on the team and Myles Garrett's not on the team.
What if Nick Chubb's wearing a Steelers uniform next year?
Dude,
suck.
Can you imagine?
Man.
It was bad enough with Joe Hayden, who was loved also here in Cleveland.
Yeah, but this dude would be scoring touchdowns in your building. Nick Chubb.
Let me tell you something. The more I thought about this, and I've thought about it a lot since we talked about it earlier this morning, this is a bad job by the Browns because they have paid so much money to so many guys. Mm-hmm. There was part of me that was like, well, maybe Nick Chubb wants to leave. I guess that's possible. So I'll leave that as a possibility. This can't really be about – Nick Chubb he's not an idiot. his representation understands. Nobody's paying Nick Chubb a big guaranteed contract. He's been hurt for 2 years. He's getting older for a running back. He wasn't very good last year when he was healthy. So this is not like, well, the Browns only offered him $3 million and he thinks he can get $8 million. Nobody's paying him $8 million. Nobody's paying him even $5 million, I would think, guaranteed. Maybe he can make that with incentives. The Browns, this guy has
the Browns
been,
think he's even worth any money?
Maybe they don't. But I just feel like some guys you got to keep like as part of the culture of the team.
Yeah.
They don't have many
maybe
guys.
They don't care about that. I mean, the culture's been shit.
Yeah, but yes, that's true.
And it's hard to be a culture changer in the locker room when you're not going out there and rushing for 2,000 yards either.
I get it, but like if for nothing else, do it for the fans. It's like the one guy that you lost everybody that's good.
Is there any chance they're going to let Chubb hit the market so he can set his own value basically and then come back to Cleveland and say...
I just don't see it that way because, again, unless Nick Chubb's getting crazy with the money, I don't see how this is a money thing. I think they've just decided, they're all about their numbers and the analytics, and I'm a big analytics guy, but this feels like we don't care about the passion, the emotion of this situation. It's only money.
Well, I agree with you. I'm just playing devil's advocate for the sake of showing the other side or at least talking it out. What if they have no idea what to pay Nick Chubb? And they say, we have no idea how to value the kind of player you'll be in 2025. Go out in the open market. Find the best offer. We'll match. So you make sure you feel like you got a fair market deal from us and you don't feel like whatever we offer is undercutting what another team would.
I don't buy that.
And he comes back. I don't think it's crazy that it could happen, but I also think at the end of the day, if Nick Chubb's not in a Cleveland Browns uniform next year, the vibes of the entire fan base heading into the season, even with the rookie quarterback, if they draft one at 2, they'll be higher. Like, that'll outweigh losing Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
But instead of just having all the momentum going to the season because we finally have our next savior of the franchise, there will be a step back because it's Nick freaking Chubb.
If he signs for $1.5 million guaranteed with the Steelers, we're going to be like, what, they couldn't have paid him that?
Yeah, it'll be outrage. Outrage.
I don't know. Let's bring in Jason, get his opinion. Jason is down at the Combine or over at the Combine. Where is he?
I was going to do a read beforehand.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So before we bring in Jason, when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on all that with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off and want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3. And right now, new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That's FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
All right, Jason Lloyd is in Indianapolis, probably getting into all kinds of hijinks there. Who knows what the hell he's up to? I know he's like, by the way, Jason drives with like a coffee on his leg. He's smoking cigarettes. He's watching TV. I mean, he's a cop, so a wet dream, frankly.
I'm not smoking. I am eating a Chipotle bowl and driving with my knees.
Jason,
and watching.
Is that the new webcam? It looks crispy.
It is the new webcam. Does it look good?
Looks very good, yes.
Nice.
Jason,
I'm tired of people making fun of me on the computer. Go ahead, Mike. Make fun
Can I
of me.
give you guys an old man Jason Lloyd story real quick?
Yeah.
Here for
So
it.
Jason bought a new webcam. I sent him a couple options.
Did he buy the webcam when he set up his OnlyFans?
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Jason would have to have fans to have an OnlyFans, though. But,
wow.
Jason called me and was like,
Good night.
Mikey, I need your help. My computer will not read this webcam at all. Nothing. I can't get it to work. And he's like, you got a second? Of course. He just had to go to settings and change it. He covered up his laptop camera and didn't change the input. So for, I don't know, Jason, he said 45.
Even I know that.
45 minutes he was searching around trying to figure out how to get this to read.
I knew the camera was covered. I couldn't find the settings tab. was the thing. I was looking at, and I told him, like, this is a total boomer moment. I can't get this thing to work. And it was literally one click on the settings, but I couldn't find the settings. So.
It looks good, though, Jason. It looks good.
It does look sharp.
Good.
Much better.
I need all the help I can get.
Jason, we were just talking about what Andrew Berry said about Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he's gone. I mean, at this point, I'd be shocked if he's back with the team. Do you think there's any chance Nick said to them behind the scenes, you know what, I'd rather go elsewhere at this point? Or do you think this is all about the Browns telling him it's time for you to move on?
I don't know the answer to that. Like, I don't know. But, yeah, I think it's within I mean, Myles Garrett said he didn't want to be here. Joel Bitonio's heavily weighing retirement. Why would Nick Chubb want it? You know, like I think there's a lot of guys that are looking at this going, I don't know if I can sign up for this again. So, and remember, like, they made Nick take a pay cut. And who knows? And I mean, it was the right thing to do from a business standpoint, from a team standpoint. I'm not blaming the team for that when they restructured him. But, you know, he's coming off a devastating knee injury, and now you restructure his contract and you take money from him. So would you blame him if he's a little aggravated over that? And again, that's not to fault the Browns. Business is business. You got to do what you got to do. But from the player side of that, yeah, I can understand why he'd be a little upset and wants to, you know, these guys have given their entire careers to Cleveland. And I believe the window to win with this group has closed. And, you know, you could look at the Deshaun trade is just wrecking. Like, they swung big and they missed. And it wrecked this contention window for this group of guys, for Myles in his prime, for Nick in his prime. You know, with the offensive line that they had built, I believe that window is closed. And so I don't blame these guys for saying, I've had enough, especially, you know, Nick's a free agent. Yeah, he wants to look elsewhere. Again, I don't know that to be true, but I would not be surprised if that was the case.
Get ready to see all the fans throw up when he signs with the Steelers, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Would Pittsburgh want him? I guess on a incentive-based deal. Like, he's not going to get a lot of money from anybody.
No, but Najee Harris is a free agent. They can make Jalen Warren their lead guy and then have Nick Chubb be their short yardage end zone guy like Kareem Hunt's been. I could see that happening with them. They like those kind of grinder players, and that's what he is.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't rule anything out with him. And maybe he'll find that the market isn't what he wants, and you know, maybe he would return on a smaller deal. But I wouldn't be surprised if a few of these guys are like, I've had enough of this.
Jason, you've been in Indy now for 2.5 days, which means you've had at least 17 sodas with all the NFL insiders, Browns contingent, some shrimp cocktail at St. Elmo's. But what's the latest buzz? What are the Browns going to do at pick number 2 now after chat-shitting with all the –
Did you say chat-shitting?
I like saying it backwards. Yeah, chat-shitting. With all the Browns front office brass.
I am coming around on the idea they're going to take a quarterback. I do believe that they're going to take a quarterback at 2. And I wasn't sure on that going into coming here. I didn't really have a feel of which way they were going to go. I'm leaning toward they are going to take a quarterback at 2.
Do you think that the Cam Ward smoke out there is real?
Yeah, ideally they would love to have all of the quarterbacks at their disposal at 2. I don't know which one they like better, or if there's another one that we're not even talking about they like better. I don't know their pecking order, but I do think that they are sort of leaning in on the idea of trying to take a quarterback and try swinging yet again and trying to solve this issue. And if you do that, see, my whole point with trade Myles, you got to trade Myles was if you're going to try and find your quarterback in 26. And my thing for weeks has been you trade Myles and you load up on 26 picks and you move up and down the board in 26 and try and find them. But if you're going to swing now and you're going to swing at one of these guys, whether it's Cam or Shador or somebody else, then it lends more credence to, no, they're not going to trade Myles. And I don't know what leverage really he has.
Hold out, that's it.
Fine, hold out. Yeah. We're going to suck anyway. You want to hold out? Hold out. You're not going anywhere. The Browns control his rights for, and when I say we, I mean, I'm from the Browns. I'm from the Browns perspective. It's going to be a transition year anyway, so they're going to suck anyway. You want to hold out? Go ahead and hold out, but they still control his rights for 2 more years, and then they can franchise tag him. So he has no leverage in this, and that's a point I've been trying to make throughout this. I think they should trade Myles because I think it's better for the organization to trade Myles, given where they're at and where they're going, not necessarily because of his trade demand, because he has no leverage in this. But if they're going to say, we like these quarterbacks, we want to take one of these guys now at 2, I think it lessens the burden of having to trade Myles. So I think absolutely, I think a lot of people are in the camp that it's inevitable he's going to be traded at some point. I don't necessarily believe that's the case. Like I do believe they're telling the truth right now that they don't want to trade him, obviously. And again, if he had 1 year left, maybe it's a little bit. He's got 2 years left, and they can tag him after that. So there's no urgency on their part to get something done, and we'll see.
Jason, have these QBs stepped on a scale yet, or been measured?
No. Quarterbacks come later in the week. Abdul Carter spoke this morning. I don't know who else talked. I was in a different meeting in a different place, so I don't know who else talked. But the quarterbacks, I think, are Friday.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
so I don't think anything has happened yet with any of these guys.
Jason, when you look at how the Browns are navigating this offseason, the Combine is where a lot of the bigger moves at least start to gain some traction. We saw Andrew Berry yesterday say the Browns are kind of open to anything in the draft, trading up, trading down, moving around to get the guys they want. From your understanding, at least some of the conversations you've had in Indy, are the Browns being incredibly active with that number 2 pick? And if you had to guess today, would they pick it 2, or do you think they end up picking somewhere else in the first round?
I think they're going to stay right at 2. Now, all it takes is one offer. And we talked about this on the show a week or 2 ago that things won't heat up until after now. After this Combine, when the teams retreat back to their various cities and start to put things together. When we were talking about trading the number 1 pick, it was dealt, I think, right after the Combine, a week or 2 after the Combine. I can't remember now which year it was. And then there was another one where it was, I think, April. The number 1 pick was traded. So I think AB made reference to the fact yesterday that it's a little bit early. And he's right in terms of trades. I think teams want to get out of here. They want to talk to these guys, get their hands on these guys, get some of the measurements, the measurables, see how some of them work out. Obviously, the top quarterbacks, probably won't. But then you go back, then you huddle and you assemble and you diagnose what you like, what you don't like, what you're willing to give up, what you're willing to lose, that sort of thing. So ultimately, if you're asking me right now, if I got to place a bet right now, where are they making their first selection? It would be at number 2. I think they're going to stay right where they are.
Jason, one of the other things from yesterday's Andrew Berry's press conference was the JOK situation. Obviously, he said, he doesn't know. I mean, at the time of the injury, we didn't make a big deal about it. And then as the year went on, it was more serious. But they've been very cagey about it. Do you know anything about exactly what's going on with him? And in your mind?
I don't.
You don't?
No, I'm not going to bluff you.
Yeah, it feels like
because you're right. In the locker room immediately after that game, I was kind of under the impression that they had avoided the worst and it was going to be okay. And obviously that's not the case. So I honestly, I haven't really dug on that one. Probably bad job out of me. You probably need to. I haven't really dug on him. There's just too much else going on. But I don't know. I mean, it doesn't sound good. Like at this point, I don't think it's much of a surprise if he doesn't play again.
Man.
I referenced you referenced Joel Bitonio before. We were, when he made those comments over the weekend that he's leaning in a direction. I remember Jay and I were both on the panel that day, and we were both like, well, our assumption was he's leaning towards retirement, that's the more likely option at that point. Is that the case?
Yeah, I would tend to believe that as well. If you're leaning toward playing, I think you would I think the way that he phrased it, the way that he framed it, I sort of took away the same thing, that he's leaning toward retirement, but you have to be 100% certain before you make that decision. I think he's due $17 million next year, and that could go even higher. I'm sure if he wanted an extra $3 or $4 million, they'd probably give it to him to get him to come back because of what he means to this team and that offensive line and everything else. It's a lot of money to walk away from. And again, I think it's if he does, and let's wait and see what his decision is, because I talked to him at one point last year where he felt like he had 2 years left. which would have been last year and then next year. But last year was really hard, and it took a lot out of a lot of guys. And sort of referenced that earlier with, would you really be surprised if Nick Chubb needed to change the scenery or wanted to change the scenery? And we've already talked about Myles, and it was a hard year on everybody. And it may have been enough for him to say, you know what, I'm good. I've made enough money. I'm set. My family's set. My grandkids are set. I've had enough of this. We know about the back issues that he's had, that those don't get better with age. And just those linemen get beat up, man, and they get worn down, and his body may just be talking to him right now and telling him he's had enough.
Jason, when Andrew Berry talks, 99% of what he says is meaningless because he's not going to give away any information. But I did think yesterday when he said that they view Travis Hunter as a receiver instead of a cornerback primarily was a little actually interesting tidbit into their scouting process. Have you heard any other – and it's interesting because most guys I've heard so far view him more as a cornerback than a receiver, so the Browns were going against the grain. Do you hear any reaction to that or any further insight into why the Browns view him more as an offensive player than a defensive player?
I think probably because he's a dynamic playmaker, and you want those guys scoring touchdowns for you rather than trying to prevent touchdowns for you. If you've got guys who can score touchdowns and make plays, you want them on that side of the ball. I actually thought Andrew was a little bit honest, really going back to his first offseason press conference. I feel like he's trying to be a little bit as revealing as he can be, as honest as he can be. You're right, they're never going to give away the house. But they were very honest with where things stood with Deshaun. They were very honest with, hey, we weren't good enough. I wasn't good enough. This roster wasn't good enough. What you just mentioned, he was revealing about how they view Hunter, what he said about Nick going to free agency. I felt like Andrew has tried to be pretty upfront and honest in instances where he can without hurting the team, and I give him credit for that.
You think Kevin Stefanski will be the same way when he speaks a little bit later this afternoon?
Come on, be serious. No, Kevin's going to talk in about 44 minutes, and he won't say anything. That's how it goes with him. We know the drill by now.
You don't think that – I mean, I thought in his end-of-season press conference, he kind of talked about – it felt like he was more in control of the situation. I don't know that he was more honest, but he was a little more like, it's my way. We're doing things my way.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
I agree with you. I agree with that, and it did feel like he was flexing a little bit and saying, we're going to do this how I want to do it. And he should. Like, that's how it should be. And I've talked to coaches before who were – and I think we all know probably everybody's on the hot seat right now, but I've talked to coaches who felt the pressure before. They all say the same thing. I'm going down doing it how I want to do it, whether that's an NFL coach calling his own plays and running the offense the way that he wants, whether it's an NBA coach with substitution patterns doing it the way that he wants and bucking front office orders, whatever it is. Coaches, if they're going to get fired, they're going to say, well, at least I went down doing it how I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think Kevin has earned that. And, say what you want about how terrible last year was, and it was bad. He was bad. He was bad last year. Everybody's bad last year. Nobody gets a passing grade for last year. But I think that he has earned the right to do it the way that he wants to do it, because when he did it the way he wanted to do it, they won 11 games with 5 quarterbacks and went to the playoffs. When he succumbed to what everybody else wanted to do, the quarterback couldn't throw a 5-yard completion, was throwing it 7 yards out of bounds. They were running deep routes with receivers who were too slow and couldn't get open, and they fired the offensive coordinator before the plane landed after the last game. So go back to doing it his way, and then if it doesn't work, well, then you blow everybody out, and here we go again, and you start over yet again.
Jason, does the defense have any players outside of Myles Garrett? And maybe outside of Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward?
Players like big-time playmakers? No, probably not.
How about not even big-time playmakers? How about playmakers?
Just a playmaker? I think there's the potential for guys to be, but right now I wouldn't say that they are. No, I mean, Mike Hall looked good in spurts. Isaiah McGuire looked good in spurts at times, but those aren't guys that you can say right now that you can hang your hat on and say that's a playmaker. The linebacker is not a valued position in Jim Schwartz's scheme. I don't think anyone over there has really hid from that it's, the primary is the defensive line. That's the most important. And then is the secondary. and then the leftover is the linebacker. Denzel, if he's healthy, is obviously terrific. Myles, if they can get him to a good space, obviously he is what he is. But aside from those, no, with JOK being in the situation that he is, I don't know how you can look at this. Now, again, you've got an upcoming draft where you got a lot of high picks and free agency to go through. So, yet again, you got darts in your hand and you're throwing at the board, and hopefully you can hit something. But if people are pessimistic on how many hits they can actually get, I understand why.
Jason, last thing on the Browns, and then I got a couple of quickies for you before we wrap up. Obviously, they're going to need to bring in a veteran quarterback, whether they draft a quarterback or two or not. Now, maybe if they draft a quarterback at 2 versus in the 3rd round, it's a different veteran they're looking at. But any buzz about what veteran quarterbacks might be on their radar right now?
No, I was surprised that the Falcons came out and said they were going to pay Cousins his roster ball. Like, this is going to go on a while with Kirk Cousins. That was one that I kind of had an eye on. Buzz, no, I don't have a feel. Like, I can't tell you I've got intel that it's this guy or this guy or this guy. I think it's the same names right now that we've been kicking around for quite a while. And I do think, Andrew sort of talked about this yesterday. There is a little bit of a link with who you draft to who you sign. I don't know that it's overwhelming, but I'll just throw a name out. I don't know that you want Aaron Rodgers mentoring the number 2 pick in the draft, and frankly, I'd put Joe Flacco in that category too. Flacco's not really much for being a mentor. He wants to compete and he wants to play. Well,
Jason, yesterday we were talking about who's a guy that you'd want to have as the mentor veteran? Because I had said Andy Dalton a few weeks ago. Obviously, he re-signed with Carolina. But the guy I suggested yesterday, I know is a Dustin Fox favorite and the best-looking man in all of sports, Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he'd be a good fit.
I don't think – I mean, they are – this regime I don't think is impressed with Jimmy G. Going back to the Deshaun suspension when they had Brissett, and Garoppolo was the name then that I thought they should pursue or look at, and there was minimal to less than minimal interest in Jimmy G.
Well, maybe they should. Look at all the shitty quarterbacks they brought in. I mean, geez, Louise.
Bring him in.
Boy, do they have an eye for talent, Jason.
Players like him. The players like him. Tyvis played with him, loved him. And he's a good veteran, and he knows he's not a starter anymore, regularly. So I think
his number is a lot lower now than it was then too. He was carrying a pretty big number at that point. Maybe on a smaller number, maybe it'd be different. But I know back then there was no interest.
I actually think Jacoby Brissett wouldn't be a terrible guy either.
Oh, that would be. They love him. I think that would be fine if they wanted to go back down that path.
Does that dude know he's been in the Zoom the whole show?
The guy with the shaved head situation there.
He's been in the whole time.
And the shot's so crispy, you can see his every facial expression.
Crispy shot, man.
Yeah. He's got the little cut in his hair.
Yeah.
I came back. I'm back at. We did the hit from here a couple years ago. I'm back at that Starbucks outside the JW. This is the hot spot at the Combine where the coaches all get their coffee in the morning, and this is where everybody's mingling. I felt this was better than a stale workroom shot anything like that, or being in my hotel room, something lame. Just trying to spice it up.
All right, before we go. Has anybody told Jeff Shadell that he's got to shave the mustache?
Jeff's not here. He's not even here. So no, nobody's.
Maybe he was on a Zoom call yesterday. Jeff, shave the mustache.
Yeah,
we got to have.
Chris talked? Antonetti talked yesterday.
Oh, okay, that was what it was.
It was probably right. Jeff was probably on that on his Zoom.
That was pretty scary. Speaking of other sports, real quick, since you've last been on, the Cavs killed the Knicks on Friday. They beat Memphis in a good game on Sunday, and they absolutely boat raced Orlando. Give us some thoughts on that 3-game stretch there with Boston coming up.
I mean, they're absolutely rolling. I didn't get to see a lot of the game last night. We were at dinner. Shout out Harry and Izzy's and the shrimp cocktail that Mike was talking about earlier. But I mean, DeAndre's been a perfect fit. It's been even better than I thought it would be. We talked all year about Cam Johnson and all that. Hunter right now is giving them exactly what they need. Everyone here, it's funny because everybody here knows that I covered the NBA for 10 years. So a lot of people here want to talk Cavs with me about, is this team real? Is this team legit? I'm like, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, this team could win a championship this year. I fully believe that.
By the way, what's this like? The idea that you're going to get the best shrimp in America in friggin' Indiana where there's no water.
It's not about the shrimp, dude.
the
It's about the
sauce.
sauce.
Oh, it's the sauce.
It's the
That's what
sauce.
it's about.
The St. Elmo's.
the-
You went to Harry and Izzy's. St. Elmo's is the one, Jason.
It's a very
Well, no, it's
spicy
the same.
cocktail sauce.
It's
Oh,
the
it is?
same. Yeah, Harry and Izzy's is owned by. It's the same people that own Elmo's. It's the world famous St. Elmo's shrimp at Harry and Izzy's. I actually think Harry and Izzy's is better than St. Elmo's, but the shrimp cocktail is exactly the same with the horseradish sauce that will clean out your sinuses for 6 months.
Oh,
It's
it's spicy.
J.C. Treader was at dinner last night. Jackson Dart was at dinner right behind us last night at the table behind us last night. Like,
Was he wearing brown gear?
He was not, but it's Indy's a who's who of the NFL at this time. It's kind of fun, and of course we did the whole high velocity inside the JW. I hate that place. I hate doing that, but you have to at least make a lap through there. And it's all the standard staple stuff. But I'm out of here. Kevin talks in 35 minutes. I'm leaving here tonight, and I can't wait to get out. I'm on the show tomorrow.
Have you finished your 2 seasons of Severance yet? Or, are you caught up in season 2?
I am caught up. I love that show. And
best,
it was slow, man. It was a slow start. The first couple episodes were like, what is this? But, man, I'm like right now, they're on a heater right now. It's banger after banger for these shows. So, and Shrinking. I like Shrinking too. That's another
awesome.
one.
I told you
Really
about
good.
that one. Yeah, that's a great guest on that one.
Yeah.
All right,
Apple
Jace.
TV's got the best shows going.
It does. All right, have a good trip back.
I'll see you tomorrow.
later.
I'm in tomorrow.
Later.
man.
Okay.
Safe trip.
All right, that was Jason.
I need some new show recommendations.
I give you a bunch. Go ahead, Anthony. What do you got?
Yeah, guys, before we get back to the Cavs, the Ultimate Cavs did an extra live last night after the game. Mike, do you guys have anything going on for Friday's game with the Celtics?
Still TBD on the Celtics game. Friday night post-game shows are a little tough because people are out and about celebrating and enjoying the weekend. But we did do a live post-game show last night. Nikki Gold of Clutch Points joined me on the show because Jason was mingling with all his Browns people. We went about 35 minutes, went more in depth in the game. If you want to hear some extra analysis, it is on our YouTube page. You can check it out. And Ultimate Guardians is tomorrow morning.
I'll do it. Yeah, Ultimate Guardians, the first one in a while. Right, the week before the season starts, we'll be back to doing it every week, which is coming up, in a few weeks. But we'll be doing Ultimate Guardians tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Zach's flying back from Arizona actually today, and so we're going to do tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Check out the Ultimate Guardians as we're into spring training. So there you go. All right, what's this? So give us this question about the small guards. The Cavs have small guards. We know this. Are we worried that that's a problem going forward? Right?
Yeah, so before the Magic game last night, Mike and I were talking in the office, and the Magic are a big team. I'm still concerned about the size of the Cavs, even with Hunter a little bit, when it came to a team that took us 7 games last year in the playoffs. After the Magic game, do you guys still have those same concerns after we mollywopped them?
To me, the only concern for me is the Celtics. That's it. I'm not worried about any other team. I'm not worried about size. I'm not worried about nothing. I'm worried about the Boston Celtics. That's the only concern I have. For me, you guys, is the size of the Cavs guards, having small guards, a concern against anyone but the Celtics.
It hasn't been a problem thus far this season.
No.
I would sort of rely on you and your basketball tutelage to give us the insight.
I mean, you'd rather have 6'6", 6'7" guards than 6'1", 6'2" guards if you had your choice.
I would say that's pretty obvious, yeah.
But the Cavs, I do think what they lack in necessarily height in terms of their 2 starting backcourt players, they make up with length in the wings now. And the addition of Javonte Green and DeAndre Hunter and the resurgence of Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro being healthy gives them a plethora of guys to counteract what they have in 2 smaller guards. And when you look at, you have 2 small guards, fine. How is the other team going to attack those 2 smaller guards? Kenny was asked that question. Joe Varden asked him before the Memphis game on Sunday. And his answer was, well, I don't consider Donovan a small guard because he's 6'3". He's listed at 6'3". I'm not sure if he's a real 6'3", but he's got a 7-foot wingspan. Mm-hmm. He's built like a middle linebacker. If you've been, I mean, it's not like you could really move around Donovan Mitchell. Darius has done a better job battling, but he's the one you can kind of try and pick and choose. But to counteract that, you need length and athleticism on the wing, and you need elite rim protection. And when you look at the Cavs now, even if Darius was the small guard in the court, they could have 2 wings in Hunter and Wade, or Okoro and Hunter, or Wade and Javonte Green, or even Jalen Tyson, who have enough length to counteract and help and still have enough length to recover, Plus, you have Mobley and Allen down low, who you're trying to funnel guys into. So, is it a concern? Yeah, if you want to nitpick and find like what may not be perfect about the roster.
But is it against anybody but Boston a concern?
The Knicks, if Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby decided tonight's night we're going to have 40 points.
Yeah,
but they don't run their offense that way, so it's not really that big of a concern.
Yeah, I don't know.
Historically speaking, there have been very few examples of backcourts with two smaller guys that have won. In the article, Varden, these are the three teams, but it was the 89-90 Pistons, and in 1983, the Philadelphia 76ers. That goes start. Varden only looked back to 1980. He said, I'm only going since when I was born, so there probably was more examples beforehand.
And there's been none recently. Those Pistons teams were great,
But those Pistons teams had elite rim protection and great size on the wings, and it was a different NBA, obviously.
Of course, the game was so different.
The Cavs have the counters to how a team
But Isaiah
would want
Thomas
to
was
attack.
their best player.
He was their best player, yeah. And Steph Curry was best player on the Warriors when they won, so it's not like you can't have a smaller player be your best guy.
Well, how tall is Steph?
6'3", but he's a real 6'3".
I'm just not worried about it. I was earlier in the season. I'm just like, the Cavs are so good.
No.
Again, could it become an issue against Boston? I guess it could. I just think the other teams that are bigger, the Cavs are just better than those teams. I don't think it's going to matter.
It is on the list of concerns that I have for Cleveland.
Yeah.
It's near the top, but it's because it's not a long list.
Not a lot
it's
of
just
weaknesses right now.
It has to be near the top just by sheer numbers, but Boston, it could come into play.
The only real concern with the Cavs, and this is for every team, is that none of the key guys get hurt. I mean, that's just really health is the biggest concern. You're always going to be worried about that because it's a game. It's a game of attrition. It's a long season. It's a lot of games. You just hope everybody can stay healthy. If the Cavs are fully healthy in the playoffs, not that they couldn't lose. There's no obvious concerns.
Well, go back to the game Boston when they came here and the Cavs won. Donovan had that 20-point fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But if you remember from the other end of the court, when the Boston Celtics had the ball, they kept trying to isolate Darius Garland and go one-on-one with Tatum versus Garland. That's going to happen in the playoffs. Like, that is going to be how teams try and attack Cleveland is let's isolate Darius, let's get him in switches. To counter that, in certain lineups when you have Hunter and another wing plus the one big in, they're all big enough and athletic enough and have the quickness to kind of stunt, show help, and then get back to the shooter. And if the other teams, whether it be Boston or Orlando or the Knicks or whoever, if they want to post up Darius and take 2-pointers all game on shots that they're not used to getting in their normal shot profile,
right?
Basketball nerd word, bro, I know you like that.
Shot profile.
Then you live with it because these teams want at the end of the day shoot threes, and if they're going to continue just to throw Drew Holiday in the post and let him go one-on-one and score over Darius with the length that's helping, the Cavs are scoring 122 points in the number 2 defense in basketball. You're not going to beat the Cavs shooting twos, I can tell you that.
I know. I'm excited about this game on Friday, and then I just want the last 23 games
season
to pass as fast as possible to get to the playoffs after that.
They have a gauntlet of a schedule in terms of travel. They don't have back-to-back home games.
Yeah.
Of the last, 24 games left, if my math is correct? They're
24 left, yeah.
I think they only have 2 times where they have back-to-back home games. They play a lot more games on the road than at home.
Right.
The final,
well, that means
24.
they've played a lot at home, and they've been obviously great.
Incredible.
All right, let's switch gears. We'll get back to the Browns here, Anthony. Go ahead.
Before we do, I'm just going to remind everybody about the comedy show one last time. The ticket link is pinned in the chat. It's going to be March 28th, Friday at 9:30 p.m. at Pickwick and Frolic. It's a great charity event. All of us are going to be there, signing, hugging, kissing babies. It's going to be a good time.
Kissing babies?
Yeah, that's all you, Ant.
I mean, first of all, why are there babies at a comedy show at 9:30 at night on a Friday? You can tell the guy doesn't have any kids. Number 2, I ain't kissing no babies. G. Bush will be kissing babies, man.
G. Bush will be kissing babies.
He's the man of the people.
Some of my friends bought tickets.
He doesn't have a appointment with his urologist.
That's true. He'll get sick from kissing the babies.
Some of my friends bought tickets, and I'm starting to get a little nervous now.
All right,
now there's expectations.
So who's going up on stage besides you and me? Is anybody else going up?
We're going to make Ant come up.
Don't make him go up. He doesn't want to do it.
I have been informed that his best friend's birthday is that weekend, and all they want for their birthday is for Anthony
so Anthony,
to
go
stand.
for
So
2 minutes.
I might have to do it.
He might have to
Go for 2 minutes.
I think
Director Steve is thinking about it. He just told me.
G's going to do it.
Yeah, G will go up.
Assuming G's healthy enough to step on stage that day.
Dustin won't be there,
and I think Jason said he may.
There's
Jason's
a
gonna
slight
go
chance
up?
I might be there now. I'll let you
really?
know. Yeah,
all right.
Maybe a slight change in my schedule, but we'll see.
We know Jay won't go up.
Jay will not go up.
I know Tyvis won't.
Tyvis won't go up.
But me,
you have Lima write something?
Lima? Mm-hmm. Why would I have Lima write me something?
Because he's really good at it.
He's good at writing
comedy.
No, I'm working on it with Aaron.
Okay.
We're good. I got like 5 routines I'm working on. I don't want to tell anybody what it's about.
Run it by Lima first.
Screw him.
I mean, write it down and just he made.
I don't need.
But show up, buy tickets.
Mine
Come.
is fun,
It's going to be a
though.
blast.
He showed me
No
some
matter
stuff this
who's
weekend
up
that he
there,
wrote recently.
it's fun.
Really funny stuff.
Yeah. Which topic we doing?
We're going to do Greg Cosell. You want to set this one up for you, Mike? You sent me this last night.
Well, we don't have 20 minutes to do on that, though. Why don't
No, we
do
have to. We have a couple other things. Don't worry.
What about the other topic we're going to get to? The Browns being ranked last.
We were going to do this one first, but
Oh, okay. You want to do this first? Go ahead.
Sure.
It's up to you.
What do you got? So Greg Cosell,
Yes.
we've talked about this. Greg Cosell, in my opinion, Dustin feels this way. He's the most respected guy in terms of breaking down the tape. And when he talks about prospects, not only does he have the guy's been studying the film for 50 years or whatever it is, but what he does better than anybody else is that he keeps emotion out of it. He doesn't. Everybody's like, "Oh, I love this guy," and he just looks at the film and gives you the. He as you mentioned earlier this morning, and you're right. He doesn't, know what they're doing with their friends or whatever. That stuff you don't know unless you talk to a player. Unless you talk to. He's telling you what he sees on film, unemotional. No, I love this guy. I love that guy. And we talked about the fact that he liked Cam Ward. He thinks Cam Ward's the best quarterback in this draft. Everybody assumed that his second best quarterback would be Shedeur Sanders. That is not the case. I believe he had Shedeur Sanders as his third best quarterback. Yep. But the second best guy, I never even heard of this guy. What's his name again?
Tyler Shough.
Where did he play? I don't even know where he played.
He was Justin Herbert's backup at Oregon. He played
That's right. He's been there for
7 years of college football, 3 at Oregon, 3 at Texas Tech this last year at Louisville.
Tyler Shough.
Oh, Shough is how it's pronounced?
I listened to like 17 Google pronunciations this morning.
Shough. I called one of his games last year.
I'm going to listen to that guy then, Tyler Shough. But we have Greg Cosell talking about
let's see what he said,
Tyler.
and then I want
Let's hear,
Dustin's take on this.
React.
To me, the next best tape, okay, of a college quarterback that I saw was Tyler Shough from Louisville. And I was fascinated by this kid. And I don't know where he's going to get drafted. It would not surprise me at all, Ross, if you start hearing his name, hear people start saying, well, he's going to start moving up. He's 24 years old. I've spoken to former GMs who say that's not an issue at all. If the guy plays 10 years, 12 years, so what? He'll be 36. Quarterbacks play at that age. There's an injury history that's probably a little more concerning. He's 6'5". He's 224. This kid, I loved his tape. He looks the part of an NFL quarterback. He's got clean mechanics. He stayed on the midline. These are the little details that I look for. So many college quarterbacks, they drift. They create their own pressure. They don't do the little details of the position. I mean, this kid played 7 years of college football. I think he's a higher level prospect. I really do. I did. I heard from people in the league who have seen him in person, and have stood next to him and watched him throw. And all those comments I got from people in the league were that, hey, you're 100% right. You just have to be around this kid and see him in person, which I obviously will at the combine, but I haven't done that. I've been just watching tape. But normally the tape tells you so much. I've also spoken to guys who have been GMs in the league who are not the least bit worried about his age. The injury history is a little more concerning. The age is not.
Now, one correction. Greg did say that he said he was 24.
25.
He's 25, and he'll be 26 the first month of the season. So he's a little older. We went through that with Brandon Whedon, although Brandon Whedon was like 28, I think. Wasn't he? Do you remember? Or was he 26?
He was 26 or 27.
If I loved the guy, it wouldn't stop me from drafting him, even at turning 26.
He was in the 2018 recruiting class, put it that way.
Yeah, this past season he played through 389 passes. He played a full year. His other 5 seasons in college football, he had, he was in and out, and he talked about the injury, and none of the numbers were particularly impressive before this year, and this year obviously had a good final season. Dustin, you said you covered some of his games. He played for Louisville this year.
Yeah, well, last year he played for Texas Tech.
Yeah, how many different teams did he play for? 4?
3.
Oregon, Texas Tech, and Louisville.
Okay.
So last year I did Texas Tech at West Virginia. He was starting quarterback for Tech. In that game, it was a really, really tight game. It was kind of a nasty day. Weather wasn't great. He didn't have a great day, but late in the second half, dude, he snapped his leg in half in my game.
Oh, that was your game?
It was my game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was brutal, dude. And, like, I actually thought his career was over at that point in time. Seeing the injury and knowing he's played football for 6 seasons.
Yeah.
For him to come back. And then, of course, Jeff Brom goes from Purdue, who obviously was a Louisville guy, is the coach there now. He's got a great pedigree. So I like the combination. He played in a system, multiple systems, that throw the football a lot. Oregon, obviously, Texas Tech threw it a lot when he was there with Joey McGuire 2 years ago, and then this year with Brom. He's a big kid, guys. I mean, 6'5", 225. I mean, when you see him, he's going to – in person, I did. He looks like Big Ben, dude. Like, he's a big, physical, takes over a room type of kid. So I like everything about him, but the injury concerns.
A lot of injuries, yeah.
And there were other injuries that happened prior to the injury that he had in my game. I think he may have had another ACL or a knee or something the previous year. He's been through a lot.
The 5 years before last year, he had never thrown more than 177 passes in a season. And this past year, he threw about 400. So, like, the rest, his other 5 years, he threw like 500 passes combined over 5 years. So, there's obviously been a lot of injuries. He's older. Are you surprised that Greg liked him this much?
No, I watched a ton of him this year at Louisville, and I was very impressed with the way he played. Not a lot of people talked about Louisville this year, but like they were a sneaky good team. At least their offense was when he was out there.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Mike. What's your thought? Who else have you heard likes him?
He's Todd McShay's number 4 quarterback.
Okay.
He's throwing at the combine, which is going to help him out.
Oh, yeah.
Sean King is a big fan of Shough.
Buddy Sean.
Now, I was talking to Sean because we're going to do a whole quarterback breakdown thing next week, and I was cutting some footage, and this is funny that we're doing this topic today because yesterday morning I was going through Tyler Shough footage to find certain throws that Sean kind of wanted. And Dustin, please back me up on this because I did not watch a ton of Louisville. I'm not trying to say I watched a ton, but I was trying to find certain things for Sean. The dude is fearless.
Oh, yeah. He is. I mean,
he will stand in and take hits, but he will not dive out of a pocket.
Can I tell you something, guys? This sucker, this song gun, snapped his leg and tried to play another snap with it.
Yeah.
Dude,
that's
he
tough.
tried to play another snap, and then when he put pressure on it, it just gave out. And
so he actually stayed in the game?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Toughest son bitch I ever seen, man. I'm telling you.
That's the impression I got. So fearless in the pocket. I wouldn't say, like, it was an elite Josh Allen level arm, but dude was making some howitzer kind of throws to the sideline and definitely had the arm talent you'd want. He's played in 3 different systems, so it's not like he's going to be unfamiliar with stuff. He's got the size, the strength. He's a little more mobile than I think.
He's got some wheels. Yeah, he can move.
The stats don't look like he's a very mobile guy, but he was able to maneuver in the pocket. But he also just seemed...
Put it this way, he ran so much that they had to tell him to stop, like, because he was getting hurt.
Fair enough. And then the other thing, I was reading an article because I was trying to prepare for this because, like I said, I haven't watched a ton. Brom said he felt comfortable giving Shough 3-4 plays at the line of scrimmage and having him because he's 24 years old playing against college kids. He has the mental part of it. The injury history is certainly a concern, but he's got the arm, he's got the size, got the mentals. I can see how he's an appealing prospect as people kind of put together their big boards in terms of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, could he be drafted 2 overall? Do we think that's possible? I mean, I know
I don't
the indication
think so.
is to say no because of mock drafts, but you never know. I mean,
he's got a couple things going against him. I mean, he's got his age, which say what you want about him. If you're 25, 26 years old, and you play like Peyton Manning, okay, who cares?
Right.
But like you're a guy who's 25, 26 years old, who has been to 3 different schools.
Right.
You had a really devastating injury last year. The last couple of years, he had a shoulder, I think, the previous year too, maybe a knee. I don't know. I mean, there's red flags, dude. It's risk. There's risk.
2nd round pick, 3rd round pick, 4th. What do we think?
Sure, anything in the second and after.
Would you be surprised if a team traded up late in the 1st round to get him so they had that 5th-year option?
I never am because I think if you got a guy with a 2nd round grade, to your point about that extra year, that's big. And then you go get the guy, you jump ahead of everybody. You don't got to go to bed worrying about where this guy's going to be on day 2.
Right. Because so as we talked about before, there are 6 teams in the top 9 of the draft that need a quarterback. Let's say, Cam and Shador go 1-2.
In the draft, they're just the first 2 teams that need quarterbacks.
In the draft.
Okay.
But whatever. Let's say 2 of those 6 teams. Well, now the other 4 that didn't get a quarterback, if you're what are the Saints picking, like 9?
Saints are 9.
they might feel like, well, we like Tyler Shough or what's the kid that people
Jackson Dart.
Dart.
Yeah.
We better get ahead of the Raiders and the Giants. So let's trade up to the end of the 32nd pick. Because going from 40 to 32 is not that big you're not giving up that much. So teams might do that if it only takes one team that really likes it. Yeah. And by the way, there's a couple of teams drafting later. Pittsburgh could take a quarterback. The Rams could take a quarterback with all the Stafford situation going on. So, you never know who sees. It's only 28 teams could look at a quarterback and say, he's all right, but there might be one or two or three that's like, this guy, there's something about him here we like.
Is Shough on the same level as Jackson Dart, in your opinion, in terms of
who do you like better of those two?
Oh, that's a good question. I think Jackson Dart, to me. But, I've only seen both of them play a handful of games.
Yeah.
One person I got to call a game and talk to him. So maybe it's close. It's close. I like Jackson Dart, though. I do.
All right, let's leave the quarterbacks there for now. Let's talk about this. The Athletic ranked the 18 teams that missed the playoffs in terms of most likely to bounce back in 25. And out of the 18 teams, and make the playoffs, the Browns were dead last. 18 out of 18. Fair or unfair? Do you agree with that?
Fair.
I think it's tiers.
The Browns the least likely team to make the playoffs in 25.
If you said unfair,
yeah,
I'd say explain yourself.
Yeah, right. No, I think first of all, there are 3 or 4 other teams you could probably make an argument that are right there with the Browns.
Sure.
But there's not a single team that you could say is clearly in worse shape than the Browns.
And going against Cleveland's the division.
Yes,
which
and
is
the conference.
Is a gauntlet. The conference.
Now, Tennessee's still got to deal with the conference. The Jets got to deal with the conference and the Jets division. But the Jets division, at least, New England's also not very good.
Yeah.
Right? With Tennessee, their whole division is mediocre or worse. So the Browns play in a tough AFC and in a North where all 3 of the other teams are better than they are. Like the Jets, they're better than New England already, probably. Now, unless... what's his name?
Drake May.
Drake May takes a bit, but he's got no talent around him right now. He needs more talent around him. They'll probably try to address that this offseason.
The Raiders are also in a similar spot. I think you can make a case.
Raiders in a bad spot too, but there's no way. Like, yes, if the rate, can you bring that up again, Anthony?
Which ones you want?
The last 2. Well, you got the whole list or what?
Yeah, we have all 18.
I assume the Bengals are 1.
18.
The Bengals are 1, yeah.
Yeah. Bengals, Cowboys, Dolphins. Let's look at that. Do we disagree with any of that? Would you change any of that order? Most likely to make the playoffs next year.
I'm not as high on Dallas.
Who would you put ahead of Dallas, though?
I like Seattle. But
I'd actually put Atlanta higher than Dallas.
I guess with Atlanta, it depends what you think of Michael Penix. I don't think he played enough to have a good enough feel for him. Dustin, the Bengals are obviously number 1. They're way better than any of these other teams.
I'd put the Dolphins, too.
You put the Dolphins, too? It's all about Tua. Can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
They'll be 2 if Tua can stay healthy.
That's right. All right, next list. Cardinals. I'd have the Niners way higher than that.
I forgot about the Niners.
I wasn't thinking about. I'd have the Niners 2 behind the Bengals.
I would too. Yeah.
How are they 7? That whoever made this list must not like Brock Purdy at all. Now listen, Christian McCaffrey's getting old. I don't know what he's got left in the tank.
Isn't there some talk about? Isn't Debo want out of there?
Debo wants out.
Yeah, Ayuk's coming off an injury. McCaffrey's coming off an injury and he's old. So they're not. But they're such a good organization with a good coach. I'd be shocked. I would put them 2 behind the Bengals.
The article talked about just the financial constraints and how because they're going to pay Purdy and how that's going to affect the rest of the roster. But I agree, they should be higher.
I would have the Niners 2. I agree. Then I would have the Dolphins 3. And then I might even have the Falcons and Seahawks ahead of the Cowboys, possibly. Then Arizona, Panthers. I actually like the Bears more than the Colts and Panthers.
I do too. Ben Johnson.
I like the way the Panthers finished the year.
But I do too. I'm not.
I saw something in Bryce Young that I liked.
Agreed. And I like that. Yeah. I like for him that Dalton stayed there. They have a good relationship.
Chubb Hubbard, the running back.
Yeah, he had a great year. I think there's some potential there.
What's his face? The big kid from South Carolina that talks funny. The receiver,
Xavier Legette.
They still have. Do they still have what's his name?
What's his name? How am I supposed to know what's his name?
Adam Thielen.
They do still have Thielen, yeah.
Adam Thielen just puts up numbers.
He had a good year.
That's all he does. He still puts up numbers. And then I would have who was the other? I'm not high on Indy. I don't like their quarterback. And then the next group: Patriots, Jags, Jets, Raiders, Titans. I'd probably have the Jaguars ahead of the Patriots.
Splitting hairs.
But yeah, all right, fine. And then the Raiders. I mean, I'd actually have the Raiders lower. I think the Raiders and Browns are the last two. What do they got? 16, 17, 18. Oh, yeah, the Saints are terrible. Yeah, Saints and Giants are also terrible. But at least they're in the NFC.
Yeah.
And the Saints are in the NFC South. I would probably have them 15, and then the Giants and Raiders. Yeah, I mean, like, you could make a case that the Giants, Saints, and Raiders, you could make an argument if you want that they're in worse shape than the Browns, but it's not obvious. It's not clear.
It's a tier. 18, 17, it's all a tier of the bottom, and the Browns can certainly turn it around if they nail this quarterback pick and he becomes special. If not, it's going to be a year or two before we see the Browns be playing competitive football at the level that they want to. Not just, oh, yeah, we're on the fringe of a playoff spot, but no, like legitimately competing for a championship, which is what we all want.
How many teams would you say, in your mind, have no shot at making the playoffs or like less than a 1% chance? I would say the Browns are in that group. I would say the Raiders are in that group. I would say
less than a 1% chance?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say.
I think the Raiders have a higher chance than the Browns.
I look at the Raiders and the Browns and the Giants and the Saints, and I say there's no shot they're going to the playoffs. No shot. I just can't see it. And I know that people would point to 2 years ago with the Browns, which was very fluky, but the roster was better. Let's face it.
I think my answer to that would be: is Bitonio back? Is Myles Garrett here, or not?
Yeah, I don't even think those things matter that much at this point.
Well, if it's going to be less than one, I want to know for sure that two of my 4 or 5 best guys are there or not.
Now, I guess I shouldn't say that, because if they drafted Ward or Sanders and they turned out to be the next Jaden Daniels, or things could change. But as of right now,
it's bleak.
It seems like there's no chance. I think the lowest team on the list that I would give a shot to make the playoffs might be Carolina. I'm with you. I like the way Bryce Young played the second half of last year.
Something there, man.
They just did him
Chuba's
dirty.
Really good. Yeah, they threw him out there too early.
Yeah,
and
with
like
no talent around him.
It was really like sink or swim.
Yeah.
He had no chance.
And everybody was killing him and comparing him to C.J. Stroud. And you know what? He looked like a decent quarterback in the second half.
And you got to think about it. He had to go through all that adversity.
Yeah.
And people were even saying like his career was over.
I know, which was crazy.
After like a few games or whatever it was. And that was obviously something that fueled the fire for him. And I like the way he finished strong this season. So the Panthers, again, I mean, they got that new owner now, right, down in Carolina?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah, so hopefully they can turn things around. I've got a lot of friends who are Panther fans, live down in Carolina. And, that's a fun team to root for. Hopefully they turn around.
Yeah.
I got an email this morning real quick because we mentioned this 49ers. This is from our guy, Manuel, who's sent us a couple things before.
Okay.
And, we appreciate the feedback, but he sent me a trade proposal. I'll throw it out for you guys. We're talking about San Francisco. From Manuel, he proposed the Browns trading San Francisco the 2nd overall pick and the 3rd round pick they got from Buffalo in the Amari Cooper trade for Purdy and the 11th overall pick.
Why would the Niners do that?
I'm just telling you what I got sent.
I mean, don't kill the messenger.
But like,
if they love one of these quarterbacks and don't want to pay Purdy and think they can keep their window going by keeping the rest of the talent intact,
I'm not 100% sold on Purdy personally.
I don't like him.
You don't like him at all? So,
no, he's good. I mean, I just.
You think he's one of those mid-tier quarterbacks that's
real quick. His reasoning for this deal is the 49ers get to keep their window open because they have another cost-controlled quarterback so they could pay everyone else. Was basically the.
Well, who's going to be their quarterback? Oh, you're saying they draft?
They draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders at 2.
That's not realistic. They're not going to trade. They like Purdy. They're going to sign him. I don't see it.
I can't get over the fact that he was Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
I just can't. It's a scarlet letter for him. For me, I see it every time.
That's it. You just said before. I said he's undrafted. You said, well, it doesn't matter.
No.
They say he's Mr. Which is they should not get rid of that title. That's so stupid.
My buddy was Mr. Irrelevant. Ryan.
That's so insulting.
It is insulting.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You got drafted in the NFL. It's quite an accomplishment. To call you irrelevant is I hate that.
Obviously, it's sarcasm.
Yeah.
But like, I can't get over it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that was the last pick in the draft.
I know.
Would you feel differently if he went undrafted?
I'd also feel differently if he were like 6'6" and
Yeah.
250
he's not
pounds.
big. I don't know. He's played pretty well when
He's
been
played
out there.
great, man. I'm not denigrating his performance.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good player, and the system has fit him perfectly. I don't know. I just can't get by something. He just doesn't look like all the great quarterbacks should look. Baker didn't either, and he's having a great year.
Right.
Or had a great
I
year.
still don't buy Baker can win a Super Bowl, and I'm not sure Brock Purdy can. I don't know. But I'm snobby when it comes to pizza and quarterbacks.
Purdy got to one.
He did get to one.
He did. He did.
You're making me hungry. Just mentioning pizza.
By the way, speaking of which, I saw this tweet from a radio station in Columbus where they had a bracket for all the pizzerias in the Columbus area.
Okay. Where's my spot?
What's it called again?
Adriatico's.
I think they had him as a 5 seed.
Oh,
Way too low.
Adriatico's is so overrated.
Whoa, that's fighting words. He loves that place.
You're talking about Sicilian?
I had Adriatico's in Cincinnati, so I don't know if we went to the same.
Oh, so it's a chain?
No, it's not a chain.
Or like a...
There might be two different Adriaticos then.
There's no way there's
Is
two.
it just one store? Or do they have a few, like a Donato's? It's like a local chain.
Nah, it's one as far as I know. They may have added one other one in Columbus, like since I've graduated. But when I was in school, it was the one spot right there on Neal Avenue.
I wanted to see like if they had any chain pizza on their board before I give it any credibility, and they did not. Well, they had Donato's, which is I think a local chain.
Well, it started in Ohio, Columbus.
Yeah.
We got super chats.
That was it.
Yeah, we
Go
got
ahead,
two
Anthony.
super chats here, guys. One from the Salvatore 216. There's a group of fans saying that resting DG Friday gives us a better chance to win against the Celtics. What do you guys think?
That's
No.
stupid.
No.
That's stupid.
Sorry.
I mean, come on.
Listen, Darius had a terrible game the first time they
That one
played.
game makes fans say stupid things.
He was good in the next game. He was pretty good when they played again. The Cavs are better with Darius Garland. Ty Jerome has been awesome when filling in, but when push comes to shove, would you rather have Darius Garland or Ty Jerome out there? I love Ty Jerome, but the answer is Darius Garland.
Darius Garland made the All-Star team. He's been one of the 24 best players in the league this year. That's a pretty exclusive club there. That's silly to say they're better off without Darius Garland.
I will say, if Darius goes 3 for 21 again,
Yeah.
Kenny Atkinson will be much more inclined to put in Ty Jerome early this time, knowing what he can do, than
but
allow
he's
Darius
not.
to shoot
He
at
won't
him.
go 3 for 21 again.
I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that first game was game 16, if I remember, because they were 15-0.
Yeah.
That was game 16, right?
Yeah.
That was their first loss.
Yep.
That was before the Ty Jerome hype had reached the levels, and by the way, the rightful levels of how much we appreciate what he's done. If Darius starts off slow and they start picking on him and he can't hold his own, you just play Ty Jerome for
It's
more
not
minutes.
just about playing Ty. It's the fact that when Darius plays, you don't lose Ty Jerome.
Yeah.
It's not like he goes away. He plays less minutes, sure, but the Cavs are at their best, like any other team, with their best players being available.
Correct.
I think we know they're 8 players now, right? I mean, it's
solidified, yeah. As long as they're healthy.
right. Their other 4 are Hunter, Strus, Ty Jerome, and Dean Wade.
Yeah.
Right, and then if they're going to use a 9th, it's either Okoro or Merrill.
Javonte Green, I'm telling you. He looked, I know his garbage time, complete garbage time yesterday. He's too good of a guy just to be garbage time. And in certain situations, I love the athleticism.
My guy who's a
Pelicans fan,
Pelicans fan said he's
but
not any good.
On that team, it's a nothing. He just is going to play defense.
All right.
Just defense.
Tough
All right,
to
we
be a
got one more.
Pelicans fan.
Yeah, and then the last one from Jeff's Bookshelf. Good to see my boy Anthony behind the glass again. Appreciate you, Jeff.
No, Jeff, paying money to give Anthony a shout out. I like that.
We're buddies. I hang out.
Does
and
he
talk
own a
with Jeff quite
bookstore?
bit. Yeah, actually, I haven't met him in person yet, but we talk
Oh.
books all the time.
Like what kind of books? What books do you read?
I'm currently reading the Stormlight Archives. He reads everything. I think he had 86 books read last year. I had 10.
86 books?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Dude reads like 4 books a week.
I read a lot, but 86 books. I'm not reading 86 books.
Yeah, I read 10
books
last
in
year,
my
and I was
life.
proud of myself.
What 2 books?
Don't know.
I go through, when
Didn't
I'm
finish
really
them.
in, like this book series I'm reading now, I'm going through them pretty fast, but not that fast.
What series?
I'm reading a series by an author named Mark Dawson. His main character, although he has some other characters in some of his other books, but they all tie into the same universe. His main character is a British assassin, works for this group in the government where they kill people. But in the first book, he actually doesn't want to do it anymore. He almost, because he
sounds like John Wick.
Yeah, except it's
he tried to get
more
out.
realistic.
He tried to get
it's
out
a little more realistic. But yes, in that same way, he wants to get out, and the other people, and they're trying to kill him.
Back in.
Yeah, they're well, not real. Yes, in a way, yes, because the other people in that unit are trying to kill him, and now he just kind of travels around the world, and he's trying to make up for all the people he's killed by helping people and doing good things. So in this current one I'm reading, he's in Kansas City. He's helping these people from the mob.
Hurry up, B.
See you in overtime.
Wrap it up.
Wrap
it up.